I'm a lowlife, but now people call me the king. Tearing it up with every lyric that I bring to the table. Because I'm willing and able. I'm in more homes than Comcast cable. I got the skill that'll rattle your brain. I'm a threat like Saddam Hussein. Everybody know my name. Joe Habib's a top soldier. Kid, they should have told you. You really need to pack a lunch. My words hit hard just like a Tyson punch. So give me a chance. I bet you I can make you dance. Show me your girl. I bet you I get in her pants. I'm breaking egos and money is what I'm stacking. Joe Habib on the mic. You know I'm down for action. Shout out to Make Beats Sir and the Beat Smith and the whole Rope-A-Dope radio crew. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Great fight last night, and everyone has a different opinion on what they saw, which is understandable in the sport of boxing because a lot of times, this sport is very subjective, right? On how we score the rounds. And a lot of times we like to criticize fighters because we feel that they didn't do what we expected them to do, or we didn't particularly like or were impressed with the way they won, right? And that's understandable. A lot of times we say that fights are robberies, they were scored incorrectly. And my response to that is, well, if we all looked at our scorecards and we could agree on 7 or 8 rounds, right? Unequivocally, if the general consensus was that we all had 7 or 8 rounds where we thought one guy won, then I can understand, then that kind of solidifies, what common belief is about the general public's interpretation of the fight. And in this case, I think we could argue, right? Maybe not even argue it. I think it's pretty much in agreement that all of us, right, gave David Benavidez rounds 6 through 12, right? We all gave him 6 through 12. Most of us gave him round 3, not all. I would argue David Benavidez clearly won 8 rounds in this fight, right? At the very least, I actually had him winning 9. My scorecard was identical to Steve Weisfeld's. He gave Benavidez rounds 3 and 4, and he gave him rounds 6 through 12, right? So, as always, people like to make comparisons, and that's fair. I understand it. There's a common opponent between Canelo Alvarez and David Benavidez, obviously, and that's Caleb Plant. This was supposed to be a measuring stick. A lot of people were calling for this David Benavidez Canelo Alvarez fight, and now after David Benavidez has just beat Caleb Plant last night, people are going to be calling for it even more, right? And of course, there's going to be a comparison made to this common opponent, Caleb Plant, who, in my opinion, I would say is in the top 3, maybe top 4, right? Best super middleweights in the division, right? If I was to rank the super middleweights, I would put Canelo at the top, David Benavidez number 2, Caleb Plant number 3, and probably David Morrell at number 4. But again, David Morrell doesn't have a ton of fights. He's not proven, but based off the eye test, I think David Morrell would be a handful for anybody in this division. And on any given night, I think he could beat anybody. With that being said, this was a solid win for David Benavidez, in my opinion. It was a very impressive win for David Benavidez, in my opinion. But there are people who really weren't impressed with David Benavidez last night, right? There are people who believe that Canelo Alvarez looked much better against Caleb Plant, right, than David Benavidez did. And there are people that are looking at this performance from David Benavidez last night, and they're saying that there's no way he can beat Canelo Alvarez based off what they saw last night. Well, I understand that. I respect that. But I totally disagree with it. And I'll tell you why. And other people mentioned this. If you go on Twitter, shout out to Checkmate Boxing. He's pretty much saying the same things that I'm saying about this event, right? Or this performance in comparison to Canelo Alvarez. And I've been critical of CompuBox over the years, right? I have been. I don't think they're the be all end all, but I have conceded that I've kind of warmed up to it more so than I have in the past. Lee Groves, who does CompuBox, has been on the show a few times, been on the roundtable a few times. Highly respect him. And again, that doesn't mean that I always agree with CompuBox, but as I've said before, there are certain instances and circumstances where I'll watch a fight, look at the numbers, and I'll say to myself, yeah, the fight pretty much did resemble what the CompuBox reported to me, right? And this is, again, I'm just going to be honest, this is another one of those cases where I can look at these numbers and I can say, yeah, that's a pretty accurate description of what I was watching last night, right? So let's look at the numbers, and we're going to make the comparison of David Benavidez versus Plant and Canelo versus Plant. So Saul Alvarez threw 361 punches against Caleb Plant, landed 117 for a percentage of 32%. Caleb Plant threw 441 punches against Canelo and landed 23%, right? Caleb Plant landed 42 jabs out of 232 against Canelo, where Canelo only landed 15 jabs against Plant. The power shots, Canelo landed 102 out of 251. Plant landed 59 out of 209. Now, keep in mind, Caleb Plant got stopped in round 11, right? Whereas this fight with David Benavidez went the whole distance, right? So the numbers are going to be a little different because of that. Understandable. But here's the one glaring thing. I don't want to say one glaring thing. The two glaring things that stand out to me, again, this is just my opinion. Everything I'm saying here can definitely be argued the other way. I'm not here to say that I'm the be all end all on my assessment of how this fight was. I'm just telling you that this is how I interpreted it. And I think there are going to be a lot of people that may echo my sentiments here. And I'm, again, if you don't, that's fine too. There's no wrong or right here. But statistically, I'm just going to say, I think David Benavidez's performance was better than Canelo Alvarez. Now, you can argue Canelo Alvarez got the better outcome, the more impressive outcome. If that's your argument, fine. I mean, you can stand on that. You can stand on that. But let me get back to the point I was making. Here's a thing that really shocks me here. Now, people are saying, "Oh, what happened to that volume machine of David Benavidez? What happened to that?" Well, my answer to that is, well, here's what happened to that. He threw less punches and threw higher quality shots and was better defensively in this fight than I've ever seen him before in his whole career, based upon the opponent he was facing. If you were to tell me that David Benavidez, against a very good defensive fighter like Caleb Plant, would land 38% of his punches. Like, these are Mayweather numbers, right? And again, oh, he's not I'm not saying he's Mayweather, but these are Mayweather numbers, right? If you were to tell me that he'd land 40% of his total punches going in, I'd be like, wow, really? I don't know about that. And if you were to tell me that Caleb Plant would only land 15% of his punches, right, against David Benavidez, I'd be like, nah, I could see him doing more than that. And then I was hearing things before this fight like Caleb Plant is the more skilled fighter, right? But he was even out jabbed in this fight. David Benavidez didn't throw a ton of jabs, threw less jabs than normal, but once again, he landed 30 of 132, where Caleb Plant threw 247 and only landed 23, right? So he was David Benavidez, who was supposedly not as skilled. And again, that word skilled is so subjective. I'm going to go into that in a couple of minutes and I'll explain myself in that, about that. And I talked about this on Thursday and I've been talking about this. The word skill is a very subjective word, right? And it's applied in a very biased way. And we're gonna unpack that in a couple of minutes. So a guy that's supposedly more skilled, right, than David Benavidez, right? Only lands 15% of his punches, is out jabbed, right? Only landed 9% of his jabs, while David Benavidez landed 23% of his, right? And David Benavidez landed a staggering 43%, right, of his power shots, while Caleb Plant only landed 18% of his. So, like I said, the narrative going into this fight was, yeah, Plant is the much better boxer, much more skilled, but David Benavidez is just stronger. He's got more stamina, and he hits harder, and he's just going to wear him down late. I'm here to tell you, and this we could argue maybe isn't even just my opinion, but the numbers reflect that this is true. David Benavidez not only outwilled Caleb Plant, which is what people thought was going to be the case. I also think he outboxed him as well. I also think he showed more skill in this fight by beating Caleb Plant in every statistical category. There is not one statistical category, not one that Caleb Plant did better than David Benavidez in, right? And again, Beeb, those CompuBox numbers are bullshit. Okay, well, even with that argument, I don't know, man. I mean, you could make that argument, but if we're being objective and we're watching this fight, we're seeing in the second half, like Plant just wasn't landing anything. He was in retreat mode. He went into survival mode, in my opinion, from round 6 on, right? So we use this word skill, and a lot of times this word skill is applied to the guy who fights on the outside, moves a lot, has a pretty flashy style. It's aesthetically pleasing to most fans. But once again, that inside game like Julio Cesar Chavez used, right? And a lot of other great fighters over the years have used, it gets unnoticed. And before this fight, what I said was, yeah, you could argue that Caleb Plant's probably better from a distance. But I still said, yeah, you could argue he's better, but the separation isn't as great as what people think it is. I think David Benavidez can still hang with Plant on the outside, but I edged that outside game. I did say that if there's space, Plant has an advantage. The big difference I mentioned here, and this was clearly evident by the way Plant was fighting, because even he knew this, right, was as soon as Benavidez gets close, his advantages are immensely better than Caleb Plant's. I believe, and I think that, it was proven last night that David Benavidez is a much, much, much significantly better fighter up close than Caleb Plant, right? So when I looked at this matchup and I was breaking it down in terms of boxing ability, I said they were pretty much even because I thought David Benavidez was more versatile in the way that he could fight on the outside, mid-range, and up close, whereas Plant I just thought was more or less primarily an outfighter, right? With very little inside game, and the way he was holding last night, it showed that. Now, people are criticizing Kenny Bayless, and I don't think he did a good job last night. But once again, whether you like or dislike holding, it's up to the fighter to be able to deal with an opponent who is holding a lot, right? You have to be able to offset that. You have to be able to push him off. You have to be able to back him up. You have to be able to fight your way out of the clinches. Now, I would argue that David Benavidez was not allowed to fight out of the clinches. He was broken up a lot. He was being warned, chastised. Everything David Benavidez did, he was being warned for last night. And in certain instances, it was like he had to walk on eggshells because everything he did, he was going to be reprimanded for. And that kind of changes the way you fight. But as David Benavidez said, I wasn't happy with the referee, but I had to work my way through it, which he did. Right. So David Benavidez being tall and long like that, it's easy for Caleb Plant to reach out and grab him, whereas Canelo being short and stockier, it's harder to reach out and grab Canelo. So he wasn't able to apply those tactics to Canelo because of Canelo's size, height, his dimensions, right? And also the referee was allowing Canelo to work on the inside and fight on the inside, where I think in a lot of instances where David Benavidez we're just starting to get warmed up. Kenny Bayless would break the action. There was even a time where David Benavidez had Caleb Plant hurt, and Kenny Bayless incredulously just stopped the fight to have Caleb Plant's cut on his head looked at. And at that particular time, I thought David Benavidez was he had the momentum, right? So in my opinion, I was very impressed with David Benavidez. I was more impressed with David Benavidez in this fight than I was with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez was supposed to walk over Caleb Plant, and you can argue in that 11th round he did, but for the first 10, he did not. I had that fight even up until the time of the stoppage with Canelo Alvarez and Plant. You could argue it was 6-4. A lot of people I talked to had it 6-4, right? In this fight, I scored this fight 9-3. After 6, I had it even, and from there on out, I thought David Benavidez just shut down Caleb Plant. Now, when Caleb Plant fought Canelo Alvarez, I gave him some late rounds, and even the judges gave him some late rounds, right? But in this fight, David Benavidez shut Caleb Plant down the whole second half of the fight, where I thought that Caleb Plant was able to win some late rounds against Canelo, right? So I ran the numbers CompuBox wise and showed you statistically whether you believe these numbers or not. If you do believe these numbers statistically, I do think David Benavidez did better than Canelo. Round wise, I thought he won more rounds. In my opinion, you could argue that he didn't. That's fine. I thought David Benavidez won more rounds against Plant than Canelo did, and obviously, the fight ended in the 11th round with Canelo and Plant. But up until that point, if you were to look at 11 rounds and 11 rounds, I gave Plant 5 of those 10 rounds before being stopped, and as I said, against Benavidez, I only gave him 3. I can argue at best you give him 4, right? So, like I said, a lot of people are saying that Benavidez didn't look good because they were just expecting him to throw more punches, and they're overlooking his accuracy, and they're overlooking at his defense. His defense was very underrated in this fight. If someone told you going into this fight that Caleb Plant was only going to land 15% of his punches and he was going to be out jabbed by David Benavidez, would you have believed that? Everyone thought that Canelo Alvarez was going to walk right through and destroy Caleb Plant, and I don't think he did. I think the fight was competitive before Plant got stopped. My opinion, this fight was not competitive. After round 5, this fight was not competitive anymore. Whereas, like I said, that fight with Canelo was competitive up until the stoppage. And in round 9, Canelo just took him out of there, right? So styles make fights. And I would argue, and again, this is a very controversial opinion, I would argue that David Benavidez matches up better against Canelo Alvarez than he does against Caleb Plant, because you have a guy who doesn't move as much, a guy who doesn't throw as many punches, and a guy who does not throw a lot of jabs, right? And, you can argue that all right, Benavidez didn't really fight a fast-paced fight here, but he still did throw 551 punches to Caleb Plant 624, and that's still, you know, more volume than what Canelo Alvarez throws, right? He still threw more punches and landed significantly more punches than Canelo Alvarez did. I mean, if who cares how many punches you throw if you're landing at a 40% clip. So you could argue that David Benavidez threw less because he was more selective with his shots, right? Threw less because he was focusing more on his defense, right? He didn't want to just throw all caution into the wind. He tightened up his game a little bit. So, what difference does it make if David Benavidez threw 300 more punches if he's landing at a lower percentage rate, right? So, once again, David Benavidez proved that he could land at a high percentage and get hit at a low percentage. So statistically, David Benavidez did what he normally did against a very tough top level guy, top 3 super middleweight, top 4 super middleweight in the world. This wasn't a guy, this wasn't a Karan Davis. This with no due respect to Davis. I'm just saying this was not that. This was against a guy who's not supposed to get hit a lot. This was against a guy who supposedly has more skills, right? So again, styles make fights. And if David Benavidez is going to be fighting Canelo at a slower pace and he's going to be able to come forward without having to deal with a jab in his face, right? And he's going to be able to fight without being held, I think David Benavidez definitely has a shot against Canelo Alvarez, and I'm going to go on record right now. I think he's going to win against Canelo Alvarez. I think he'd beat him. I think Canelo Alvarez is slowed down. I think he's turning the corner. I think this is the perfect time to fight Canelo Alvarez right now, right? So I think he has the edge, in my opinion. Of course, he won't be the favorite. Of course, most people are going to pick Canelo, but I'm going to be the outlier here. Shout out, before I go to you, Checkmate, I want to just give D-Style a shout out. He said the word skill in boxing was hijacked by people that use it for the outboxer. I've said that for years, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. Checkmate. I think Kenny Bayless fucked up my bets last night. I had like 5 bets. Benavidez by stoppage. I think he was on his way to doing it, but he wasn't allowed to fight on the inside. I have a little sour grapes here, but again, you got to deal with this if you gamble. It is what it is. Break down your assessment of this fight. I think we're in agreement here, but let me hear it from your words.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you said because I see it like you didn't say anything that I haven't thought or said. So it's just like it's mirror everything you said because the same thing as well. I lost money on the KO. I bet on the KO. But I was happy I lost. For instance, I was happy I lost that because it was an exciting fight.
Good fight.
Right. So the atmosphere, the energy was electric. It had that big fight feel, the drama, the ebb and flow. Because in the beginning, like, okay, I'm thinking, when is David Benavidez going to become that monster? When are we going to see these quick hands? When are we going to see these fast, lightning fast combinations? They never presented themselves. But guess what? He was able to modify his style and be effective in that style that nobody expected. Okay. So with that said, he dominated. He dominated in ways Canelo didn't. As I stated on Twitter, the majority of Canelo fans are attacking David Benavidez. Oh, Canelo going to kill him. He's not a monster. Look what Canelo did to Plant. Okay, well, I actually had Plant up by round at the time of the stoppage. So with that said, I felt like Benavidez, dominated Plant and Canelo didn't. Canelo got the knockout, but Plant overall effective, as you can see in the punch stacks, he landed 210 punches versus Plant's 91 punches, whereas Plant landed 101 punches on Canelo, and Canelo only landed 117 on Plant. Okay, now you can say, okay, well, that's Canelo and Plant was only won 11 rounds and they win 12 rounds. It's a 1 round difference. And like you said, I believe Canelo is tailor made for Benavidez because he doesn't move that much, because he's used to prodding ahead in the thought. And Canelo is so drunk on his power, you know what I mean? Because he was effective and able to chop down the tree that Plant presented. Well, guess what? Canelo will be right there in front of Benavidez. So they're going to be forced to go toe to toe. Now, who has the quicker hand movements? Okay.
Benavidez.
100, that is, it's not even up for debate whose
Not
hands are
even,
quicker.
not up
You
for
know what I
debate.
mean?
My opinion,
Right.
anyways.
Absolutely. So I think it's going to be a good, exciting fight, and it's going to be even more electric. Why? Because Canelo won't have any place to run. Canelo's so full of pride, and listen what Benavidez said. Benavidez said, "I didn't feel his punches. He didn't even have a scratch on his face, and he kept coming forward. And he was hitting his chest like, bring it, bring it." But I give Plant all the props in the world. I expected the knockout, but he showed heart. You know what I mean? He showed heart, and he would have gone down a couple of times had he not held on. He was clearly holding on, and Kenny Bayless saved him from a KO, if you ask me. But hey, that's boxing. It happens a lot. But it was a very exciting fight. We're going to be talking about this for weeks, because again, it put Benavidez in a different light. Remember, like you said, we're used to him the volume punching. He didn't do that. He was effective with his approach. He outboxed the boxer. You know what I mean? And I do think Plant is still. I know you had mentioned the word talent, but I do think Plant is. I would call him more athletic. More, I would say he has more athletic gifts than David Benavidez. He has better footwork. So when it comes to boxing talent, he displays more, but he didn't display it that night. He didn't display it last night. And Benavidez, my only criticism with him has always been his foot stance. He stands square. So
Does
when you
square up
stand
sometimes, yeah.
right, so when his foots are square is why if a person with heavy punches can easily knock him down because his
Be
foot's
off
so square.
balance.
He
Yeah, be
right.
off balance.
So that's
Yeah.
the only way Canelo will get him down is if it's a flash like that. But I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, it was a great card, great evening of boxing. I'm still excited about it. I'm still buzzing about it. I got a little high off of it, even though I lost money on my KO bet. But yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah, and again, like I said, the word footwork is subjective. Does Benavidez square up sometimes and Plant doesn't? Yeah, so technically you could argue that that Plant's footwork is probably more textbook. But Benavidez still is able to cut off the ring. Last night, I don't think he squared up at all. And even when he does square up, because his feet are so fast, it's still hard to capitalize on that. But it can be capitalized on. But last night, I think David Benavidez showed better footwork than Plant because he was able to cut off the ring. And we think a guy has better footwork because he moves more, because he uses his feet more. And Plant's defense is his feet. David Benavidez is great at catching and parrying shots and timing shots while he's moving forward. And he's great at punching in between combinations when his opponent is trying to reset. And because he's so strong and because he's so aggressive and because he's so accurate with his shots, he forces that guy to keep his punches at home, which he did last night, which is why Plant was not able to throw punches back in that second half of the fight because he was getting hurt to the body, hurt to the head, and he was constantly forced back where he couldn't plant his feet and get his shots off. So I understand where you're going with that, but last night I just think in every category, I think Benavidez outperformed Caleb Plant, and he proved overall, as I said going into the fight, that he was the better boxer because he could do more things. You know, that's just the way I look at it, and I've continued to say this. Just because a guy can fight on the outside, just because a guy moves a lot, just because a guy has an aesthetically pleasing style, right? That doesn't necessarily mean he's the better boxer. To me, the better boxer is the guy that could do more things, the more versatile things. And I've said the same thing about Fury and Usyk. Oh, Usyk's got more skills. Can Usyk fight on the inside like Fury? Can Usyk switch up to the southpaw and orthodox? Can he ambidextrous like Fury? Can he shorten up shots on the inside like Fury? Does he know how to use use his size. It's one thing if people are saying, oh, well, people are picking Fury just because he's bigger. Okay, but again, you still have to have the skill to be able to utilize your size and maximize your size. No one ever said Nikolai Valuev was winning fights with his size, or he's one of the best heavyweights of all time, and he's the biggest heavyweight that this planet's ever seen, 7 feet 330. It's one thing being big, but there has to be a skill set to being able to utilize your physical advantages, right? You have to be able to not only be big, but if you're fast and you have good balanced footwork and you're just a good counterpuncher, I think all around Fury is a better fighter than Usyk once again. But again, because Usyk moves a lot, because he's got that flashy style, automatically Usyk is more skilled. Skill is a subjective term, right? People can apply it however they like, but my criteria for assessing skill, and I've always said this, is the guy who can do more things well. I will go with the guy who can do more things well than the guy that can do one or two things extraordinary. That's just my opinion. I've always stood by that, and that's how I assessed this fight last night, and that's how I'm going to assess the Fury versus Usyk fight. You know?
Yeah. Like I said, David Benavidez, I think he shocked a lot of people with the fact that he showed that he can fight another style. Because we were waiting. I'm like, okay, when is this going? I'm thinking, okay. And I tweeted, I was like, probably about a 9th round, he's going to pick up and he's going to go ahead and he was waiting for Plant to exert himself. And everybody knows Plant gasses out, which is true. And then he was going to put on that show. But either way, he didn't get the knockout. But like I said, very impressed. And I know if he fights Canelo or fight a fighter that's willing to trade with him, you know what I mean, we will get that Benavidez back. Plant, again, he used that ring to his advantage. He definitely was on them wheels. And like I said, the holding is part of boxing. You use it strategically. If you're in with a bigger, stronger fighter, you know what I mean, you use it strategically, whether fans like it or not, that's part of the game. However, there were times when he was going down where he was whether he was holding, and he's held, which prevented, because he was going down and he was clearly like dragging on Benavidez, and you know what I mean. So that's my only issue when it comes to holding. Just like referees will generally call, okay, if he's the ropes called, prevented the knockdown, so we're going to call it a knockdown. Well, I feel like that should be called in some instances in holding as well. But like I said, let's see what next. Benavidez, he should have the boxing world's respect, except for Canelo fans, unfortunately. And Plant, he did a great account of himself, even in a loss. He's won the hearts of fans because he showed he has heart. And like I said, we'll definitely see what next. And when you just to touch on what you said about Fury, I said scary about Fury and Usyk. Yeah, I don't know. Usyk is a volume puncher, but he get hits a ton. He get hits.
Yeah, he got hit a lot against Joshua. He did get hit a lot against Joshua.
Not just Joshua, but he gets hit a ton by. I mean, he's getting hit over like 200 times and 300 times. So
yeah,
you know what I mean. I always said David Benavidez' defense was his offense. Well, you can kind of say the same thing for Usyk. Okay, well, besides some head bob and weave movement with his head movement, he catches a lot of punches, and his eyes are blackened. You know what I mean by fight, which means it's a sign of less than stellar defense. So Fury is definitely more skilled than Usyk. Usyk just got the volume. I don't know why Fury didn't want to get in there and take the fight.
It's frustrating. I think that they're both holding out because they want to do this fight later in the year in Saudi and get more money and putting the fight in Saudi. That's my opinion. I could be wrong there, but I do think the fight will happen by the end of the year. Fury relishes being the bad guy. He likes chaos. I think if chaos is not there, I've said this before, he tries to create it in every fight. And usually the chaos he creates has a detrimental effect on his opponent. And I think it's kind of having an effect on Usyk right now. Like he's getting pissed at Fury's antics here. And I think it's gonna play in Fury's favor. I think Fury is going to be the bad guy. And once again, like we've said, and it's been said before, people who came to watch Floyd didn't come to see him win. Some people came to see him win, some people came to see him lose. So when you can get both sides of the coin buying your fights and buying your pay-per-views, I think Fury is going to have a lot of people paying to see him fight against Usyk, hoping that Usyk beats him and shuts this guy up once and for all. So when you get the naysayers and the supporters interested in your fights, that's a positive. And I think this all is part of the promotion for Fury, and I think it does make the fight bigger. It's frustrating. I know it's aggravating. I know it sucks being led along by Fury time after time after time. But it's part of his persona. It's part of what makes Fury who he is, and it works for him, and it does still make people interested. And I don't think people are going to say, "Oh, I'm not going to watch this fight because I'm mad at Fury for stringing me along." No, they're going to buy this fight either because they want him to win or because they want to see Usyk make him look bad and have an embarrassing loss, right? So that's how I feel it, man. So
I don't know if is Fury. I don't know what Fury is thinking. Maybe because AJ could knock him out or knock him down in 2 fights, what will be his chances?
Yeah.
Because I guess the mode of thinking is AJ is the more powerful puncher. So
Sure.
Fury thinking, okay, well, if I can't knock him out, you know what I mean? Am I going to look good doing this?
Yeah.
Maybe there's some trepidation because if Fury, honestly, I understand what you're saying about holding out for the for the Saudi money, but if Fury wanted to make that fight, and if he really wanted undisputed, he would have did it. The guy agreed to 70-30. To say the fight fell through over a rematch, we know, come on, that's highly unlikely. So I just think Fury really wasn't in the mood to fight at this particular time, and he just did whatever he could, and he didn't expect Usyk to take the deal.
So I know we talked about this, but let's kind of map out the future for David Benavidez. We know Canelo Alvarez is going to fight John Ryder. I think it's highly unlikely that John Ryder beats Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is saying now that he wants Bivol after that fight. He's already mentioned it. What's next for David Benavidez? Should the public and the WBC force that fight with Canelo and not, well, I can't say not allow Canelo to fight Bivol, but should the WBC mandate this fight? Right? Should they mandate it next? They probably won't, but should they? Will the public demand this fight, and will they be upset if Canelo doesn't fight Benavidez after Ryder? Will they reject this Bivol fight? That's the big question.
My thing is, Benavidez has been the number 1 at 168 for a minute, right? He lost his belt twice, once for extracurricular activities, and the other one on the scales. He's never relinquished people thinking of him being the best fighter at 168. So what does Benavidez have to do that John Ryder didn't have to do, that Yildirim didn't have to do, that Billy Joe Saunders didn't have to do? Remember, Canelo fought for Benavidez' vacant belt versus a sitting champ. I hate that rule. I think that should be outlawed. If you're a sitting champ, you should not be able to fight for a vacant belt. Let another champ get that. That way, you clear the slate by beating another champion, not picking up an extra trinket. So I think that was a cheap belt grab by Canelo. And still, in 2023, he's still avoiding Benavidez. Okay? So it should be forced, but I don't know. Something is going on. Eddie Hearns or somebody's in this pocket of the WBC of these. We know there's some. I think somebody got some porn tape or something. Somebody
got the juice. Somebody got the juice.
Somebody got something on WBC Mauricio, because it's amazing how these, how they constantly just keep Benavidez, keep the carrot away from him from getting his opportunity. All he needs is the opportunity. And all I'm hearing is Canelo fan is, what has he done? He need to fight Charlo. He need to fight Andre. He needs to fight this person. Why? He's been the number one. If Canelo truly wanted to believe, prove that he's the best at 168, fight the fighter that we feel that's been that best. Okay? Don't use Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant as your measuring stick, because we all want this Benavidez fight. And you know what? I do not want to see Charlo versus Benavidez. People keep asking that. Just because they've been playing keep away with Charlo at 160 and not allowing him to unify, he still deserves that opportunity. And I think he should wait it out. GGG, Triple G just basically relinquished his belts. He don't want any part of it. Okay, Janabek is there. Unify with Janabek wants all the smoke. Okay, so I don't want to see Charlo fighting Benavidez until he masters 160. Okay, then he can do that. But other than that, we got Andre said he's willing and available to fight Benavidez. Okay, let's do that. We got Morrell, who's willing and available to fight. Let's do that. So either way, Benavidez, you know what I mean, he's not going to duck any smoke. We don't have to worry about these shell games Canelo is playing. So either way, Benavidez will get a big fight that we're interested in, because there are people who want that smoke, except if his name is Canelo.
Yeah. Well, John Ryder is a solid guy. I don't love the fight, but I don't hate the fight. I don't like the Bivol fight at all. I don't think it means anything, in my opinion. Again, these are all my opinions. I'd love to see this Benavidez fight with Canelo. I think style-wise, it's a can't miss. I think it would be an action-packed fight. I think we'd be hanging off the edge of our seats, waiting for either fighter to land that fight-changing punch, where we know with Bivol, it's going to kind of just be a cat and mouse game, right? So I think still, if Canelo does fight Bivol, it's obviously a huge challenge for him. I get it, but to me, this Benavidez fight is better. I think it means more. That's just my opinion. I just think it means more. It's funny because Benavidez, I think, people just are still gonna, they're just still gonna dismiss this style. Like I don't know. He's only 25 years old. I think he's still getting better. I don't even think this guy's reached his peak yet. He showed us a different wrinkle last night. He did things that I didn't expect him to be able to do. I did not expect him to be as defensively elusive as he was in this fight. If you would, like I said earlier, if you would have told me that Plant would be out jabbed in this fight, I would be like, nah, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? Like I was surprised at David Benavidez' accuracy, given the amount of punches he threw, and I was also surprised with his defense. I think a lot of times I've said, he likes to walk guys down, catch guys, parry shots, and create openings that way. But he showed some pretty slick and smooth head movement last night. He was moving his head very well. He was using good footwork. He was stepping around Plant. He was turning him a little bit. So he did a lot better even than I expected him to do. This was more of a skillful, versatile performance than even I anticipated. I thought this was going to be a straight blood and guts fight. It did have some of that without question, but it had a lot of that other stuff I just mentioned mixed into it, which I did not expect, to be fair.
I was impressed. Remember, I always said Benavidez, one thing I did not like was his footwork. He showed good footwork last night. He showed he didn't just square. Like I said, he will square his feet up and you can pretty much push him, he'll fall down. But he did not do that. He planted his foot. He had balance. He, again, when he was cutting off the ring, he was kind of prodding and walking him. But, so he didn't really cut off the ring effectively. But he kept that pressure on. It was the mental pressure that this robot is keep coming that really absolutely mentally wore Plant down as well, because Benavidez just kept coming. So, like I said, it wasn't the Benavidez we was hoping and waiting and wanting, but the fact that he showed that he can, come with the new style, you know what I mean, and basically presents another factor that no one expected. Patience from David Benavidez. Win. You
Yeah.
know, he showed
Yeah.
great patience. He was looking for, again, accuracy instead of volume, and I still wanted that volume though, because when he unleashes those hands, he does it like no other. But he didn't show that for whatever reason. Maybe that was a complete game plan. But either way, I think people are going to be talking about this, and hopefully we can goad Canelo fans to even calling for Canelo to fight him. But like I said, the mood on Twitter from Canelo fans was he don't need to fight. They say he don't need to fight Benavidez. What has Benavidez done? Benavidez need to fight this person. Benavidez need to fight. Why? If it's your favorite fighter, you should want him to fight the best, to prove that he's the best on the Kingdom Hill shit. You know what I mean? I want Tank to fight Devin. I want Tank to fight Loma. I want Tank to fight Chico. I want him to fight every fighter that everybody thinks is the best at 135. Okay. And I won't accept anything less, out of that. So I'm always going to push for that. But for whatever reason, Sentiments fans, they seem to like, you know what I mean, want to, oh, he's okay. He's above everyone. He can do what he want. No, not when you're holding the belts hostage. If you want to drop the belts and do what you want to do, go ahead. But we want exciting fights, and last night was a great fight, and hopefully we can keep that momentum going.
Well, I'm going to touch one more point before we get out of here because we touched about pretty much everything. But I think David Benavidez was a little bit economical with the jab last night because I don't think he was too concerned about what was coming back at him. I think because he didn't really respect Plant's power, he felt as though he could kind of force his way in, kind of throw lead power shots and not use the jab as much as he needed to, right? Because he felt as though he could push Benavidez back with power shots and, be a little bit more like I said, economical with the jab. But against Canelo, I think that jab will be working overtime. I see the old David Benavidez with a lot of jabs being thrown. He's gonna throw a lot more than 560 punches against Canelo, in my opinion. And I think that's going to be the difference. Now, whether or not he gets the decision on the scorecards will be another thing. I hate to say that and plant that seed of controversy early on, but it's got to be said. Shout out to Omar Rodriguez. Benavidez impressed me the most with his composure. A lot of other fighters would have lost it on the lack of action from Bayless. So let's touch upon that because a lot of people going in were saying, well, Benavidez is angry. He's going to be fighting off emotion. He's going to be reckless. And because of that, he's going to make mistakes. I said that the anger was a spiteful anger. This was not an anger like, oh, you just fucked my girl type of anger and I want to rip your head off. This was an anger, a spiteful anger where you made me wait all these years and I had to listen to all this shit. Now the time has finally come. I'm going to make you pay for all that. This, I think, ignited Benavidez and made him raise his game to another level, as he said. It was a different type of anger. Right. And it enabled him to put it all together in this fight. So, yeah, that was the big difference, too, as well, where we saw a much more composed David Benavidez, as you mentioned as well. And that played a factor. And then you add on to the fact that you had the referee not working in your favor, but he still maintained his composure in spite of that as well. So, that showed great growth, maturity, and composure and poise from David Benavidez. And this just adds another layer of confidence to David Benavidez, in my opinion, going into that Canelo Alvarez fight. And like I said, I think he'll be ready for it. And I'm excited for it. I would love to see that next after the Ryder fight. We probably won't get it. But once again, I think the public is going to demand it. There's going to be some public pressure on Canelo Alvarez to fight that fight. And we'll see how that plays out in the future, man. We'll see.
Well, look, if he fights Bivol, he said he wants that. Bivol said he's willing to come down to 68 and fight for those belts. I would prefer that. Okay, I would prefer, because people already have this use. Oh, he went up. Oh, you know what I mean? He tried. Bivol was too big. No, he wasn't. You know what I mean? They didn't have that same situation for Kovalev. You know what I mean? But Bivol, oh, he's too big. No, he's 6 feet. But Bivol is willing to come down, and if Bivol win undisputed, guess what? Bivol's not ducking any smoke. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
Canelo will still dance around and find another Euro bum, from Eddie Hearn's stable, that nobody wants to see. Bivol will give us the smoke. So whatever happens, even if Bivol beats Canelo, wins the belts, and drop them, guess what? They're all scattered. Then everybody got to fight for him, and then we're saying championship fighting and get 168 again
Yeah.
instead of the Canelo Pony Show. So I still think Benavidez is the best 168, as if I've thought he's been the best 168 for like the last four or 5 years. Basically, that hasn't changed. So when we see him versus Canelo, I want to see that. I want to point this out as well. People were saying Canelo, at 160. Canelo only fought only 2 fighters at 160. He only fought Jacobs and a faded GGG. Okay, so he never proved he was the best at 160. Why? Because he ducked undisputed versus Andrade. He ducked WBC mandatory versus Charlo. He ducked and franchise protected out of it, and then he ducked IBF mandatory Devenchenko and was stripped. So he never proved that he was the best fighter at 160. He never proved he was the best fighter at 154. Why? Floyd beat him. And of course, he never fought Andrade, who he was Andre's mandatory for the WBO, and he ducked, and then he never fought any of the Charlos. So he never proved that he was the best at any particular weight class. So I want to root for Canelo. I want to root for him. Give me the opportunity, fight the best, become the best, beat the best, and I'm going to all hail King Canelo. But you got to prove it.
I'm going to say something very controversial, and the Canelo fans are going to try to eviscerate me after this statement. As great as Canelo is, in my opinion, he's never truly, really cleaned out a division. Beep, what are you talking about? He's undisputed at 168. Yeah, but there's one guy out there that he still has not fought yet, and that is David Benavidez.
Beeb,
right?
You're my twin on this subject.
There's one guy out there. Undisputed to me, you could argue that it's having all 4 belts. To me, it's actually a designation. And that designation is given to you by public opinion of the fans and the boxing media and the writers and the analysts and everybody and their brother, mother, sister, and cousin wants to see that Benavidez fight, and they will not be convinced.
I want it. Canelo
They will
fans.
not be convinced until
Canelo
they get
fans. There. Please, Canelo fans, tag him, talk to him, get him to fight Bivol. The Benavidez, to prove he's the best. The only fighter that really cleared out of the division is Jermell Charlo, and he knocked out every holder of the belt by KO. That's what you call clearing. Now he's going to fight the next up and coming. So Jermell Charlo fights everybody. Devin Haney fought a fighter that I didn't even have as top 5 135 for his undisputed. You know what I mean? So hey, you're undisputed by the belts, but like you said, you got to fight the best, clear a division. That's what was great fighting was about in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, because the best fought the best, and that's all we want. I don't want to hate on Canelo. I want to root for Canelo, but I'm not going to root for a dog and pony show. I want to root for the best.
Yeah, I mean, M Stack, shout out to him, says Mayweather was undisputed. He may not have had all 4 belts, but people thought he was the best. So, and Maestro says Benavidez is not the champ. He can't make a claim to Canelo's title. Canelo was undisputed. Well, there's 2 people on this panel and many other people on this panel that think Benavidez could beat Canelo, and we have a dispute to Canelo's claim, right? Like I said, people can interpret what undisputed is any way they want, but to me, it's a designation. And he may have all 4 belts, but the second best guy in the division is David Benavidez, right? And until you beat that number 2 guy, I have a dispute to your claim.
That's
I'm
we're on the
gonna
same
need I'm
page.
gonna need you. I'm gonna need to see you beat Benavidez before I actually say unequivocally you're the best guy in this division. So
That's it.
I dispute Canelo's undisputed claim. Now, does he deserve his titles? Does he deserve that designation? You can argue yes. But
He
I
won
still
WBC
question that designation. I still question that designation, and I have I have doubt in my mind that he could beat Benavidez. I think Benavidez can beat him. I would pick David Benavidez over Canelo Alvarez right now.
100%.
Now, that's just my opinion, but I think there's a lot of other people that share my opinion. So yes, there is a dispute. There is a dispute.
Okay, let me Maestro said Benavidez is not a champ and Canelo's undisputed. Well, Maestro, I want to say this. Remember, he fought for Benavidez' vacant belt. That was a cheap belt run. That is the same thing Lomachenko did when he fought for the vacant versus Luke Campbell. You know, the ones you said was a great win for Ryan. So
that was a phenomenal win for Ryan. Wow.
So it was Loma tried to cheapen undisputed by fighting Luke, an unheralded guy who's never won anything in boxing, for undisputed, to get the, for the WBC vacant. Okay. So and then he relinquished it. So then he won it, then he relinquished it. So I'm going to be franchised, so I don't have to fight my mandatories. And then, so my thing is, Canelo did the same thing Loma did. I didn't respect when Loma do it. There's no way I'm going to respect that Canelo did it. And Maestro, my brother, you're a very intelligent guy. You should see from that same perspective.
Well, first of all, checkmate. You just got checkmated because I actually made that comment in the chat well before you said it. So, but good morning to you, my brother. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, checkmate, and brother.
Parliamentary procedures. Parliamentary procedures.
Brother Habib, thank you for dropping the link. So, look, I think we're conflating things right now. We're conflating the idea that someone is the best in the division, which people can make a reasonable argument that Benavidez is. So that's the one thing. On the other side, though, what I don't want to conflate is the idea that Benavidez is the real champion. He's not. You can make
He's not the real champion.
Canelo isn't the best in the division, and there's a dispute about who the best is. But that's a totally different argument from disputing the fact that Canelo is the 168-pound champion of the world, which he is. It's not Canelo's fault that Benavidez lost his title out of the ring, not once, but twice. You can blame the WBC for that one. I don't agree with them stripping him for testing positive for a non-performance enhancing drug. Now, the other thing, not making weight, of course you should be stripped for that, but Canelo is the undisputed champion at 168. There is a dispute about who the best in the division is, but there is not a dispute about who the champion is. Checkmate. Game over.
No, I mean, he has the titles.
Wait.
He has the title. He has the belt and the titles.
But we agree in the same thing. We're saying the same thing. I agree with you.
We dispute whether he's the man in the division. Undisputed to me is the number one guy. Like, who's the best? Now, based off of accomplishments, you can argue he's better in terms of accomplishments. But I think you can make a claim that Benavidez can beat him. And until I see that fight, Canelo will not be my undisputed champion. My opinion is statistically insignificant, but in my own warped mind, it is not irrelevant.
And
power to the people. Power to the people.
When I read your comment, it was because Joe had it on. It was because Joe had it on the screen, and that's when I saw it. Okay. Joe put it on.
All right. So
I don't know how long ago.
Go easy on Maestro yesterday. Go easy on Maestro. Tony P gave him that work yesterday. We don't want to back-to-back losses. He can't take back-to-back losses. Checkmate. Don't beat him up too bad. I want him to come back next week. Don't beat him up too bad. I need him back here. Please.
Maestro gave Checkmate gave Beeb the work. Checkmate. Very well.
I
Very
haven't
well
lost.
thought out.
I haven't lost since the doctor slapped my ass. But when I was born, and he cut that umbilical cord. That's the last loss I faced.
Shout out to Checkmate Boxing. As for Tony
The
B,
lucky Tony P is in
he
here,
was
man.
actually all over the place yesterday. 1 minute he's agreeing with Checkmate. Next minute he's agreeing with Joe Habib. I could honestly, I was having a tough time following him.
Tony P is an all-time great.
But Checkmate did his thing yesterday. Unfortunately, today, what I will have to say for a second time is I know you value the ringside reporter championship of the world. Unfortunately, nobody recognizes that title.
Well, the Beaver Maniacs do. The Beaver Maniacs do. Don't dismiss the Beaver Maniacs. Because they'll unleash a wrath of fury on you that you've never endured before. Worse than Tony P. Worse than Tony P.
Listen, what I will say again, though, is that there is no dispute about who the legit champion is at 168. There is a dispute about who the best fighter is in the weight division. Those are two totally separate things. Therefore, Saul Canelo Alvarez is the champion of the world, and there is no dispute about that. I'm sorry to tell you guys, that's just the reality that we live in.
Before I go to my brother, Troy, I got to say one thing, and this is the narrative that's being put out there. And again, we can debate this. It's again fair enough. We can debate this. My opinion, it doesn't matter. It only matters to me. Benavidez' style is tailor-made for Canelo. He'll get counted with hard shots all night. I would argue that Canelo's style kind of fits Benavidez' style because he's a slower-paced fighter, doesn't throw a lot of jabs, right? Good counterpuncher. But once again, if you got a guy who's going to stick that jab in your face all night, sort of like what Bivol did, that could create problems for Canelo, just like it did in the first GGG fight, and just like it did in the Arislandi Lara fight, and just like it did in the Bivol fight. So again, we're going to continuously disregard and diminish and downplay David Benavidez's boxing ability, but statistically, he beat Caleb Plant in every single category last night. He not only beat him up, he outboxed him. Troy, go.
Bless up to one and all. So, you know what happened this morning? I missed the church bus. So I'm going to go to church with you gentlemen over this situation here.
All right, let's go, man.
I see my man Maestro up there.
Don't give him too much work, man. He's been taking too many L's lately, man. Don't give him too much work.
Maestro is a baritone, so I'm going to ask you to say "wow." Can you say that for me, Maestro?
He won't
say "wow."
He won't do it.
And then I see the other good brother down there, Checkmate. I want you to say "bless his name." All right.
Bless
and you, Habib. You the sinner. You don't say nothing. So.
Damn, I can't even say anything. Damn.
I saw the fight.
I wanted to say an amen. I wanted an amen.
Okay, you say amen. All right.
Amen.
Okay, so last night I saw a fight with two halves in it. In the first half, you had, and I'm gonna call on you in a second, Maestro. In the first half, you had Plant who was in full control of that fight. Can we all agree on that?
I had it even after.
It's yes or no, brother. It ain't. We don't need a. We don't need a
I don't think he was in full control, but most people would agree with
you.
Most people would agree with you. My opinion is statistically insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I had it 3-3. Most people had it 4-2. But you're right.
Okay, yeah. And Maestro, right. When you come in and say, "Wow." Come on, Maestro. You're messing up the flow, Maestro. Wow.
He's too short, man. He's too short. He's too short.
Anyway, the first half was all Plant, and from 1 to 6, right? Once that 7th round came in, David turned it over a little bit. By the 8th round, it was complete dominance. Plant just got beat up. People are complaining about Plant's gas tank. This is what I saw. It's not his gas tank. He's been the distance many times, but in his two biggest fights, he tightens up. It's his confidence. It's not his gas tank. It really isn't. Huh?
Can I ask you something? I actually went to go get some water. You're hydrating, and I got thirsty. So thank you for that tip. got to stay hydrated,
He was,
ladies.
he was getting pieced up. He had to get the Vaseline put on his face. But go ahead. It's getting pieced up like a jigsaw puzzle. But go ahead.
Shout out to Checkmate Boxing, by the way. Shout out to Ringside Reporter Live. But Troy, are you saying you didn't give a single round to Benavidez in the first 6 rounds?
Not at all.
Wow. Okay, I disagree with that personally.
Plant edged him out the first 6 rounds. He was making him faint on every little feint that Plant did. Benavidez damn near jumped down his boxing shoes. He wasn't acting in the first fight, in the first half of the fight. He was reacting to everything that Plant did.
On all 3 judges' scorecards, and most people's scorecards, Benavidez won rounds 6 through 12. One judge gave Benavidez all 5. I think it's hard to dispute. And again, you can. I mean, what you saw is what you saw. I think Benavidez clearly won round 3. And I think he clearly rounds 6 through 12. I think he clearly won 8 rounds in this fight. I actually gave him round 4 too, but that to me was a swing round. If you didn't give him that's fine. If you didn't give him that's fine. So some people had hit. Some people let me burn. Some people had Plant winning the first 5, right? And even one judge had him winning the first 5. I just find it hard to believe that people didn't give Benavidez round 3. But again, you saw what you saw. We don't scorecard shame on this channel. I still think Bradley beat Pacquiao. My opinion is statistically insignificant, but I still think it's valid in my mind. But yeah, your statement, I think the general consensus would agree with you, Troy. So we're going to give you that one. Yeah, he lost you could say he lost the first half of the fight.
And this is where you step up and let the church say amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, now, hallelujah. Go ahead, Checkmate, because I know you have something you want to say.
No, I agree. I believe I had at 6, I had probably 4-2 Plant, but it was pretty much whitewashed after that. Once Benavidez pushed on the gas, it was over. Plant jabs were ineffective, and he was pretty much running around the ring, and he would get his flurries off here and there. Again, he showed heart. You know what I mean? He came, he came to fight. He didn't quit, but he was getting beaten. He got battered. If you want the way he got battered, especially towards the end. Even his corner was talking about throwing in a towel. Even though his corner, Breadman was talking about.
I was begging Breadman to pull the plug. I was begging Breadman to pull the plug after in between rounds 9 and 10, 10 and 11.
Yeah,
I was begging him. Begging him.
What did you all think of Breadman's corner work? I wasn't too impressed by him telling Caleb that Benavidez was getting tired. I didn't see Benavidez getting tired when he was telling him that. There was some tactical advice in there, but I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? I don't want to influence you too much with your answer, but what are your thoughts on Breadman in the corner?
I like Breadman as a person. I like his commentary when he's asked to talk about and break down fights. I think he's a good trainer. But once again, I don't think that he's the type of guy that can just recreate somebody. Like, you're not going to make Plant something he's not. And this whole thing that we're going to teach this guy to sit down on his punches, I don't think that's going to work with Plant. He landed that shot against Anthony Durrell. Like, full credit for that. But that instance was an outlier for Plant. You're not going to see that happen too often in fights with Caleb Plant. That was just a perfect
And that was
shot.
a blind punch too, Habib. That was a blind punch.
Correct. Durrell didn't see it coming. He walked into it. All the stars are lined up right in that instance. But again, he created that scenario, so he gets credit for it. But that scenario is not going to be there often in a lot of Plant fights against the top guys, in my opinion.
Right. I don't expect Plant to be a knockout puncher. And I think that one, the Darrell knockout, it was such a spectacular knockout. You know what I mean? It was great. It reminded you of Mike Tyson, to the body, to the head. You know what I mean? So it was a great, I mean, I play it over and over again. I see this and I still love it. And I think he got drunk off that thinking, hey, I can do that to Benavidez. You know what I mean? But Plant still has a lot of skill. I didn't see Breadman didn't enhance anything Plant didn't already have. I didn't see a new Plant. What I saw Plant was adjusting to a bigger guy, knowing that he will not be able to stand there, and he was just pretty much being the person that he's always been against rugged fighters. He's going to move. You know what I mean? It was just too ineffective against somebody that I guess you and I put money on Benavidez for the knockout, for the KO. So to me, it played out the way it was. He's going to gas out, and his boxing tactics eventually is going to catch up to him, and Benavidez is going to maul him. So I might show your question. You say, okay, well, how was Breadman in the corner? Listen, bro, there's very few cornermen. Their corner, motivation speeches or whatever case may be that I totally jump on. There's some that I'm saying this guy's a great corner man. Breadman is always going to be a monotone. He's always going to talk like this. He's always going to be calm, cool, and collective. Sometimes you need to slap that fighter. Sometimes you need to shake him. Sometimes you need to get up in his face and tell him, we are down. You need to, get it up from the mud. He didn't really do that. He's, we're going to have to stop this. We're going to have to,
Yeah, so, I mean, towards the end, Checkmate, it almost seemed like, okay, we're losing the fight now, and I know how important it is for you to finish the fight, so let's just do that.
That's Breadman.
I don't
Breadman though.
That moral victory, to be honest. I mean, you're either going to win or we're stopping the fight.
I got the sense, Maestro, not to cut you off.
Maybe
you. I apologize for cutting you off.
That's fine.
But I got the sense that Breadman knew this fight was over in round 9, and now the instructions were all about getting a moral victory. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say just now. So I have another question, if that's okay. The question is about Caleb Plant and who he could take on next, and if you guys think that he would be able to defeat David Morrell Jr. I said a couple years back that I felt that David Morrell Jr. was better than Caleb Plant, and I was saying that Caleb Plant was the third best super middleweight signed to the PBC, and people were laughing at me and ridiculing me and calling me a hater. I still think that. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think Plant can beat David Morrell Jr.?
No. Go ahead, Suleiman. Let Suleiman jump in. He's waiting. I know he usually works and stuff. I'll let him get in. Would you think? Give your take, Suleiman.
I just want to. Well, I think he should go to the another avenue, the IBO belt. Fight the Iglesias guy. The Iglesias guy is easier. He's more greener. He could beat him. Get the IBO belt. I don't think he's ready for Morrell. Morrell's a monster. He's a puncher. He's not afraid. And he has a huge amateur experience. And the guy's been put to the corner. He has 2 hard fights. He lost to Canelo, and then he lost to Benavidez, the second best fighter in the division. So I think if he wants to win a belt and walk around with a belt, get the IBO belt. The IBO belt is up for grabs. Osli's right there. Osli Iglesias. And he's marketable. He could get a good purse for that fight. And then he has that world class. He's still going to be ranked. And then he could fight somebody else. But he should stay away from Morrell. A lot of guys.
I just want to point out to people that are saying that Caleb Plant isn't ready, quote unquote, for David Morrell Jr. I mean, David Morrell Jr. only has 8 pro fights. So I mean,
only 8, huh? Jesus.
Only 8 fights. If you're not ready for a guy who has only 8 fights and you're a former world champion who's taking on Canelo and taking on David Benavidez, you got to ask yourself, really, what are you doing? Like, what chances do you have in the division? Again, he has 8 pro fights.
And that's the reason why I'm not sold on him.
Okay, if you let me cut you in, that's a good debate right there between me and him, if he wants to. The IBO belt is very marketable right now. It's getting a lot of credibility. The guy's more greener. He could get that belt and defend it. You guys are always making an issue about the Reggie belt. The Reggie belt is good. But the guy that's defending that belt is a monster. I'm telling you, he's hurting people. And I think right now, this time, Plant doesn't need a fight like that. He should keep away from that fight.
Can I
Who
ask you a
And the guy
question?
has 8 fights, but he has a vast experience.
Who wins? Who wins, Suleiman?
Right. But let me ask you a question real quick, if you don't mind.
Benavidez or Morel? Suleiman, who wins?
That's a toss up right there. His skills are so good. I think he could give Benavidez a run for his money. The guy is that good.
Okay. You know what? I keep hearing this David Morrell 7, 8 fights total. I keep telling Body to stop jumping out the window on him. He's only 8 fights deep into his thing. He's very green. How does he have a belt if you have one man that's undisputed that has all the belts in the division? I don't understand that.
Tank Davis has a belt. It's the same way that Tank Davis had a belt at 140. That's
I don't understand that either. I don't understand that either. But what I'm saying is this.
Let me
finish, please. What is it that a guy with 8 professional fights can do with a man who is a 2-time former champion? This is how I view it. If Plant fights him next, David Morrell, which he shouldn't do because he's too green, he's gonna outbox him. And you see all that holding and stuff he did? He's gonna hold him, he's gonna frustrate him, and that young guy is gonna wear himself out trying to pull away from Plant, and he's gonna get frustrated and he's gonna get outboxed.
Take the fight, take the Reggie belts. I love Reggie belts.
Well, go ahead, do that then. That'll be good for Plant, but it won't prove anything. And if David Benavidez fights him, he will stop him somewhere in the mid rounds. He just will. This cat is too green. He's
if you guys let me cut off. They say right that division has Cuban fighters that have a vast amateur experience. You got William Skull. He's in Germany, right? William Skull is probably much better than Plant. Okay, Plant has the hype wagon behind him, but that guy's much better. That guy will beat the daylights out of Plant. The other guy, he got carried for the last rounds in that fight. This last fight last night, he got carried. Okay, Benavidez could have knocked him out any of those rounds. Okay, he got carried for the last rounds. Okay, the guy's not that good. He's a hype machine. Okay, then Morel will milk that dude. Morel will milk that dude. So I don't know who's saying about Osty Iglesias will probably beat him. He barely beat Osty Iglesias. So I don't know what you guys are thinking about. Plant's not that good, boss. Okay, fellas?
No,
Plant's not that good.
You guys what are you basing your opinion on? But I'm saying, what are you based in your opinion on? Who is he beat that actually leads you to believe that this kid's the world beater?
Last night. I'm basing my opinion last night. What I saw last night. The guy was carried for the last.
I'm talking about David Morrell now.
David Morrell.
Yeah, who is he beat that actually leads you to believe he's such a world beater?
With a vast experience, man. David Morrell's knocking out dudes.
Who's he beat?
I'm basing it off Fig and Buds.
Look at his resume. Look at his resume, man. In 8 fights, he's a WBA regular champion. Nobody wants to fight the guy. Nobody wants to step. Look, Benavidez could fight Morrell. Morrell's been calling out Benavidez for a long time.
Okay, Suleiman. Let's say that you were David Benavidez' manager. Would you want him to take a step back and fight a guy with only 8 fights after just winning this fight?
Okay, first of all, Benavidez gotta fight Canelo. The only fight next for Benavidez is Canelo. Why would he go fight a guy for a Reggie belt? He's the interim WBC belt. Okay, exactly. If Canelo vacates, he moves.
Your phone breaking up, bro.
Well, what I was saying, Troy, is that when I posed the question, I wasn't talking about Benavidez. I was talking about Plant versus Morrell Jr., not Morrell Jr. versus.
I understand, brother. Yeah, but it's the same situation. He's going to get outboxed. David Morrell Jr. is going to get outboxed if he fights Plant.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Plant is somebody who struggled against Caleb Truax, and Plant's a guy who, I get it. Maybe you're impressed by Fig and Mike Lee.
No, I'm not impressed. I'm not
really impressed by that.
This is what I know for a fact, Maestro. With 8 fights, you don't have the same experience as a man who has more than 20 fights and been a champion and all that stuff, and fought guys like he fought Alvarez, right? He lost to him.
The guy has a vast amateur experience, man.
But he has the experience. Amateurs not the pros, my brother. Amateurs not the pros.
became a champion with like 2 or 3 fights.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
It doesn't matter. Look at Lomachenko. Lomachenko's it proves you wrong.
No. That's a different.
Lomachenko had 3 fights and became champion.
It doesn't matter, and he still lost to a journeyman because of pressure.
He lost he lost to Orlando Salido because Salido was hugging him.
Okay, thank you. That's the same thing that Plant's going to do to Morrell. That's the same thing Plant's going to do to Morrell.
Gennaro Hernandez.
Look at what Plant in that last fight. His stock went down, man. In last night's fight, man. Last night's fight, Plant got to right now go back to the drawing board, boss. He's not going to get a title fight. The only fight he probably going to get is the IBO belt. Okay, so I don't know why you guys want to put the guy in there to get killed.
Gennaro Hernandez.
Who's going to get killed?
More experienced than Floyd when
he's
Floyd
going to get killed. Plant's going to get murked in there, bro. You guys want to see Plant on a stretcher, bro. I guess that's what it is.
I think Morrell beats Plant too, man. I'm a roll with Suleiman on this one. I agree with Suleiman. I think Morrell.
He's a monster puncher, bro. He's not afraid of nobody, bro. He's calling out Canelo. He's calling out Benavidez.
I don't think so at all because I don't think he has the
stops Caleb Plant.
He doesn't have the experience to deal with all that. The little frustrating crap that Plant is going to do, the holding. Yeah,
he's got the ability, though, bro. He's got the ability. He's got the ability.
He got rocked, bro. Plant got rocked by Caleb Truex, bro. He got rocked by Caleb Truex.
You understand?
I guess I'm in the minority because I guess I'm in the minority because I'm not sold on Morrell yet.
I'm not sold on him either. He's only 8 fights deep.
I'm not sold on him yet.
I'm not sold on Plant, man. I think Plant's washed up, boss.
Caleb should take the fight. Take the fight. Caleb should take the fight then.
Okay, I can't because I can't say right now, just based on the eye test and what I see, I can't say that Morrell beats Plant today.
Okay, fair enough, checkmate. But then who should Caleb Plant take on next? Who's better at 168?
Andres.
Hold up. That's not Canelo.
Andrade will devastate him, bro. That's suicide.
Andres Maestro.
Andrade will knock him out, bro. Andrade will knock him out, bro. I don't know what kind of fights these guys watch, bro. Andrade's undefeated, bro.
Andres
is an awkward boxer. He's going to give him.
Andrade is a guy who no one can even tell. Who did Andrade win his titles against, Grant?
Who did Dave Morrell with his titles against? I mean, come on, man. I mean, we gonna play that game.
Belts, but look at the quality of fighters he fought, bro. I don't know, Maestro, bro. I don't know what it is. Maybe you like Plant a lot.
Suleiman is cooking people.
I think he likes Plant, bro. He likes
not even on that beat. It's not even on.
That's probably his favorite fighter, bro.
I'm the real cook up on this channel. I'm just being humble.
Suleiman is deep frying you guys.
You like Plant, right?
Suleiman's stove is not even on. He don't even have no ingredients ready to do nothing, man. You don't have it, baby. The guy Plant, bro, was carried for 4 rounds. Maestro, he was carried last night. He barely survived that fight, bro. They was gonna throw down on the guy. The guy barely won the fight. Okay, so now how you gonna put him with a high caliber fighter like David Morrell? He's right up there with Javante in punching power, bro. He's right up there, bro. He got a vast amateur experience. Then there's guys in the division that don't even have a belt that are just as experienced as him, like William Skull, OG Iglesias, bro. There's guys that undefeated. They got the old record and they're much better, much more competent Plant. Plant is only a hype machine, boss. Plant got to go back to the drawing board, go back to training, get a couple of good wins against journeyman type of fighters, not even top 10 fighters, because the top 10 is stacked. The top 10 is stacked. Any of those guys go upset Plant right now. Okay, Suleiman, you know, let me give you an example.
Knock out Plant.
No, but let me give you an example of something. There was a fighter named Julian Jackson at the time, knocking out everybody. He became champ. There was another guy by the name of Mike McCullum. Both of them are undefeated. Mike was viewed as the older one. Julian was supposed to go and wash him out because he was just like David Morrell. Big puncher. He was a decent boxer. And what happened in that fight?
Okay, cool. So
no, I'm not tell you why that Julian got taken to school.
Fight happened, and you know why Jackson lost that fight? Because he got torn retinas.
Let him burn.
He tore his retinas in that fight.
Suleiman, you're frozen on the screen. Please let Troy burn. Let him burn.
He didn't tear the retina by himself, baby. But that's not. He didn't tear that by himself. I think somebody's fist helped him along the way.
Drew, go ahead, brother.
Let's go Mets.
Well,
let's not go Mets.
Let's go Eagles and let's go Phillies. Well, Plant had some success against
That's why
Benavidez yesterday.
Let him go. Let him go. Let him go.
Like after
you gotta
last
put better
night,
source. Habib, you gotta have these guys say factual stuff, bro. It's too
Jesus.
Well,
opinionated,
a
bro.
lot of it
It's
is
too
opinionated.
opinionated, bro.
People
You gotta be
have a right,
real. The
but
guy was
let's
Cali. How you gonna
let's
compare that
learn.
to
My man,
Morel,
you
man?
gotta let me go, man. You gotta let me
Let
How
him
go.
you
go. Let
gonna
him go.
compare
Let him go.
a guy that got carried by
Let him
Benavidez
go.
for
You gotta
frown?
let me
Let him
go.
go, Suleiman. Let him go. Let him go.
Do
You
we
get
need,
back
do we
in.
need the clock,
All
Joe?
right.
Do you need the clock?
Parliamentary procedures.
Like after last night, I think Canelo beats Benavidez. I think Evora beats Benavidez. I think Petrova beats Benavidez. I think Morel beats Benavidez.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Didn't you think that Caleb was going to be Benavidez?
Yeah, because he had the
my
style to beat him. He
God.
didn't have the power to beat better to keep him off him.
Oh,
Like you gotta
let
realize,
me cook
last
y'all.
night, I really think these guys can beat Benavidez. Benavidez, when he held those big like flurries of punches, he's open to get countered. Like
Philly, did you see the punch stats? Did you
yeah, I
see
saw
the
the punch
accumulation
stats.
of? Okay, well, if Benavidez landed 210 punches on Plant, and Plant landed 91. Okay, versus Canelo, Plant landed 101 on Canelo, and Canelo landed 117. Okay, and many felt like Canelo was losing, and that Plant was actually winning at the time of the stoppage. So, what makes by the yesterday's performance a dominant performance? What
Wasn't
actually makes
dominant,
you?
man. Wasn't dominant
How
because I tell you this right
how
now, the
That
last
was
four
dominant,
rounds,
bro.
the
That was
last four
dominant.
rounds of the fight, the last 4 rounds of the fight were dominant for
But
Benavidez. That's where he got most of his punches
The
landing
last
at.
seven were dominant.
okay,
The
but that's
last
my
seven,
point. So
The last four,
if he
the
everyone
last
if he
4 of
gave
his
closes,
rounds, the last 4
okay,
rounds, that's where he landed
if
most
he,
of his punches at.
okay, so if he closed the show with a dominant performance in the last 4 rounds, which means he dominated the show, okay, in a dominant performance with 210 landed punches, what out of that performance makes you think Canelo beats Benavidez?
Because Canelo can get inside him. Canelo can take his shots. Canelo
Hey,
has more powers. And if you
hey,
look at
fellas,
the
you guys
count,
have a good
Smith,
night. I'm finishing.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And look at the count. This is how this fight's going to go. Look at the Callum Smith fight. He's going to do the same exact shit to Callum Smith, to David Benavidez and Callum Smith. Go after the arms, to take the arms out, hurt his arms, and then go for the body, and then go for a knockout. That's how this fight's going to go.
I want to personally bet you. I want to make a personal bet with you. If you do cash app bets, because if you really that strongly, because I think I don't think it's really going to be that close. I think Benavidez beats him worse than Bivol beat him, because Bivol was trying to mirror him. You know when Canelo would do certain moves, Bivol would mirror him and then shoot off his shots. Benavidez is just going to mow him down. Why? Because Canelo stays right in front of him. Benavidez has the quicker hands. Benavidez is very durable. Like Benavidez said, he didn't even feel Plant's punches. So there's nothing. Benavidez is not going to lay there in a Philly shell and give Canelo free body chops. That's just not going to happen. So it's tailor-made for an action-packed fight. And you saying Callum is a Eurobomb. Let's he stood there and he got, but that's not Benavidez. Benavidez is going to bring something that you didn't see last night. Benavidez was methodical. He was, you know what I mean? He had very strategic in with his punches and economical with his punches. He's going to throw 800 plus punches against Canelo, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Yes, sir.
How'd you score the fight, Philly? How'd you score the
8-4.
fight? Okay, that's fair. That's not a clear-cut dominant performance. 8-4.
Yeah, 8-4.
But you wouldn't
That's a
consider
competitive fight. 8-4. 9-3 is more like a dominant performance. I had it 8-4.
I mean,
like, tell you the truth, Joe, you
man.
had an argument with that one dude on your show a couple of times about that shit.
No, I if you think it was competitive, that's fine. But I thought that he got beat up for the last 7 rounds of the fight. He was getting beat up bad, bro. Like that 7 rounds of that fight, he was getting beat up, man.
I thought the last 4 he was getting beat up.
Okay, his corner wanted to stop it. That equals a dominant performance, sir. His corner wanted to throw in a towel.
Those punch
stats
stats,
called a dominant
those
performance.
punch stats were like let me ask you this, Philly. And again, you don't have to believe the punch stats, but let's say they're even remotely true. If someone told you that David Benavidez was only going to get a hit with 15% of his punches, Plant's punches last night, and he was going to be that defensively sound against a guy like Plant, he out-jabbed Plant. He beat him in every statistical category last night. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you have a right to your opinion. You know that we don't scorecard shame here. We know we respect everyone's opinion on here, but you weren't impressed at all with what David Benavidez did last night against Caleb Plant. That fight, you don't think he did better in that fight than you anticipated? He had to have done better than you anticipated because you picked Plant to win, correct?
I thought he did better than I thought he would, but I don't think he did good enough to make me think he beat Canelo Alvarez. In like the
you don't think Canelo's slowed down a little bit? He's got wear and tear on him. You don't think that the time is right now for Benavidez to take on Canelo? You don't see any. So let me ask you this: if Canelo doesn't knock out Benavidez, you think he would outpoint him, given the fact that he doesn't throw the same amount of volume that Benavidez does? He doesn't throw the same amount of jabs that Benavidez does. Could you conceivably see at the end of the night you having Canelo up on the scorecards if Canelo doesn't knock out Benavidez? Could you see that?
Yes, because timing beats volume and speed.
But you don't think Benavidez has timing too? He didn't show timing last night.
He did, but tell you the truth, timing beats speed, and Benavidez is going to get beat with timing.
All right, that's what you think. That's what you think. I disagree, but that's why we have these conversations.
Like, got look at it here. That's a good win for Benavidez, but Willie, it just shows that he's got to go back to the drawing board. He should have knocked him out, and he didn't. Like, Caleb Plant should have been stopped, but he came back.
Okay.
He got some heart. He came in there. He did hold a lot. I could say he did hold a lot. Didn't get one for it, but
okay.
Do you think Benavidez was allowed to fight out of those clinches, or do you think Kenny Bayless didn't let him fight out of those clinches?
Tell you the truth, he should have warned him, but he did fight out of the clinches.
No, I don't even mind that he didn't warn him or whatever, didn't take points away. But the problem I have is Benavidez was not allowed to fight out of those clinches. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, Philly, who had the better performance overall, against Plant, Benavidez or Canelo?
Canelo, because he knocked him out, and Canelo was able to develop a game plan how to stop him.
So you said Canelo has a better performance, even though many had Plant winning, or at least a draw at the time of the stoppage. Canelo never dominated. Canelo only landed 101 punches. Yeah, he got the KO, but Benavidez punished him. Okay, so there was a completely different fight. Canelo's Plant fight I had Plant ahead, but the thing about it could have been almost people say, okay, it wasn't exciting at all. Some people say, it was a lackluster fight.
How did you have that fight scored, Canelo versus Plant at the time of the stoppage, Philly? How did you have that scored?
I had Plant up by a round.
Wow.
So wait.
Oh my God, man.
So you agree? You had the same exact score. I said you had Plant up by a round against Canelo, but you said Canelo's going to beat him based on last night's performance when he dominated and landed 210 punches.
See, here's a difference too. Plant was winning rounds late in that fight with Canelo. Like some judges gave him 8 and 9. Other people gave him 7, 8, and 9. You know what I mean? Like he was winning rounds late, but he was shut down completely from rounds 6 through 12 against Benavidez. 6 through 12, he was shut down.
Yeah. So you basically just cancel your own argument out. You said, you was like,
here's
okay,
the thing.
well,
How the shorter guy knocked out Caleb Plant and the taller guy couldn't?
Who said the tall guy couldn't? You can thank the referee for that. You can thank the fact that.
Let me ask you this.
You can always.
Let me answer that question real quick. I'm sorry, checkmate. Let me ask you this: is it easier to grab hold of a taller guy, or is it easier to grab hold of a shorter guy?
Probably the taller guy because he's right there. But the thing about it is, Canelo has the movement.
Canelo doesn't have movement with foot. He doesn't have a lot of foot speed. He doesn't move a lot with his feet. He uses a lot of subtle movement. Canelo uses a lot of head movement, upper body movement, bends at the waist a lot. He doesn't have the same style as Plant. Like, here's the thing: Benavidez against Canelo will throw that jab in overtime, right? I actually think, no disrespect to Canelo, obviously he's a better fighter than Plant. I think style-wise, Benavidez matches up better with Canelo than he does against Plant. That's just my opinion.
So again, Philly, you basically said the same thing I said. You said Plant, you had Plant up by a round against Canelo, but then I
had it even. I had it a draw.
Okay, you had it a draw. I had he had Philly had him Plant up by a round, and I had Plant up by a round. But the thing about it is, again, you compare that to the dominant performance. You said, you're basing your entire assessment based on the fact that it was a KO. You're ignoring the punishment that Benavidez put on Plant, that Canelo never put on Plant. When Canelo hurt Plant, it was over at that particular time. You can't think of no other round throughout except to the last round.
Yeah,
the last two rounds that Canelo punished Plant. But you can see that at the end of that fight, the last 4 or 5 rounds, it was all Benavidez. And the fact, you're also ignoring the fact how Canelo looked against the smaller Bivol. When I say the smaller Bivol as compared to Benavidez, Bivol was 6 feet, okay? And Bivol wiped them out. So are you wiping that off your memories?
Do you think Benavidez beats Bivol?
I think he does.
I think he could.
I think he does.
No, he doesn't.
He has faster hands. He has faster hands, and Bivol will engage. I think he does. I don't know.
Here's what I learned last night. Everyone was saying Benavidez is a problem because of his pressure and his volume, and he wins by wearing you down and throwing a lot of punches. But he did not throw as many punches as he normally does, right? He did not use his jab as much as he normally does. But his defense was incredible last night by only allowing this guy to land 15% of his punches. And his accuracy was on another level, fighting a guy who normally doesn't get hit a lot, who's very defensively sound. And he cut off the ring against the guy who has excellent footwork. He showed me he can win in another way by statistically beating the boxer, this more skilled guy, supposedly on paper and in people's opinions. He beat this guy statistically in every single boxing category, right? So he added and showed another wrinkle to his game. Now imagine if he brings a combination of this wrinkle to the other wrinkle into that Canelo fight. That's a problem for Canelo. You can pick Canelo. Canelo's going to be the favorite. I understand all that, but I'm just telling everybody, don't sleep on Benavidez. I'm picking him to win. I think he can win. And he's a durable, strong guy, right? He's got a great chin. He's really underrated defensively on how he picks off shots, parries shots, catches and shoots. I just don't think the guy gets enough credit for his overall skill set. And that's all I'm going to say.
Let me get some paperwork. Thanks.
That's all I'm going to say.
Boxing fans seem to be the only fans that can turn a good fight into a debate about any blessed thing. You know that?
That's what makes it. Yeah. That's what makes it fun, Drew.
Let me get
That's what makes it fun.
Troy.
I'm sorry. That was a gross mischaracterization. I apologize.
Yes, because I am prettier than that man. That's yes.
Oh no.
Yes. I'm so great. That's my quote from Braveheart.
Drew can pull some honey dips. Don't underestimate.
Trust me, my man. I pick a lot of them off. Trust me.
He can get some honey dips. He can get some honey dips.
Well, if you saw the great movie Ali, there's a difference between 10 2s and 2 5s. You understand what I'm saying?
I love it.
But Mr. Graham, I'm on the same page with you. I made a post about that yesterday. I couldn't believe how Canelo fans were basically like making disparaging remarks against Benavidez in a dominant performance, and how
I don't get it, bro.
You should be celebrating that boxing gave us a great fight. The energy was electric. It was exciting. You know what I mean? Plant was fighting back against the bigger guy. He was running, but he was still fighting back. And at the end of the bell, he was still swinging. This was a great fight. I enjoyed it. I got a little high off of that fight. So how can boxing fans, just like you said, why would boxing fans shit on this fight? Celebrate this.
Let Hamed get in real quick, man. And I know he's chopping at the bit. I already know what he's gonna say, but go ahead, Hamed. Go ahead. Are you ready, Hamed? What's going on, man?
Okay.
I think he's got some stage fright here. What's going on, Hamed? You ready?
Just let you guys know, I'm not a Canelo fan.
He's got a bad connection here. What are you gonna do? Yeah, so I don't know, man. I think people are sleeping on David Benavidez. He showed you something else. Supposedly he can't box. He showed you he could box last night. I mean, I don't know, man.
What if this fight's probably not going to happen for at least a year or so? Is he going to come back in September and fight somebody else?
I think he'll fight. He mentioned David Morrell's name last night. David Benavidez. I think he's ready to fight everybody now, man. I think he feels confident. I think he's good. Feels good. I think he beats David Morrell. My opinion.
Do you think we get the Charlo fight in September? If not the Morrell fight
with David Benavidez.
Yeah, but not if it's not the Morrell.
I'm gonna tell you who Charlo's fighting next. I'm gonna tell you who Charlo's fighting next, in my opinion.
Who?
I think he's gonna move up to 168.
Nobody.
I think he's gonna move up to 168. I think he's gonna fight Demetrius Andrade, in my opinion. That's what I think.
That will be ego speaking if he just jumped up to 168 to fight Benavidez. He still can get those belts at 160. Janabek is calling everybody out, and nobody's responding. I'm disappointed.
I think he should fight Golovkin. But Golovkin don't have no more titles left. He don't have no more titles left.
GGG's been running from this guy. So GGG, I don't think he's gonna fight him. GGG made that Canelo money. Now he's living high on the hog, ready to go off the retirement land. But Janabek is calling everybody out for unification. And I'm disappointed that boxing media and even on Twitter, everybody's ignoring it. Why isn't anybody saying that Janabek is calling everybody out and nobody's Charlo hasn't responded? GGG didn't respond. Nobody's responding to Janabek. This is a guy who wants to smoke. So why isn't anybody behind that? Anyway, to get to your point, I don't want to see Jamal Charlo at 168 until he accomplishes his mission at 160. Go ahead, guys.
I don't think that's going to happen because of promotional deals. Nobody's going to fight Janabek. And then you got the only fight I could see Charlo at 160 right now is Law, because same thing. They on the PBC together. He got elevated to the WBA champion, so it'll be a unification. That's the only unification belt you'll probably will see with Charlo.
Hamed, are you squared away yet, man? You got your audio and shit in check? What's up?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
All right, go ahead. Yeah, I can hear you, man. Go ahead.
All right, I had a problem.
I already know what you're gonna say, but go ahead.
What TV?
Go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, I do think Canelo got the stoppage, but I kind of agree. I hate to say with checkmate. Up until the stoppage, I thought Canelo was winning.
He hates to agree with you. Why?
No,
that's crazy. That's crazy. He said that. He said, I hate to agree with you. Like there's something wrong with agreeing with checkmate. Like he's like part of like the secret society. Like he's like part of the secret society or something. You can't be with him. Go ahead.
I do think Benavidez was dominating that fight. I had a 7-3, I think, after 10, and then it was 8-3 going into the championship rounds. I only gave Caleb Plant 3 rounds, but I thought he won about 2 clear rounds. Yeah, I thought he only won 2 clear rounds. I think people were giving him extra rounds because he was just doing this shoulder roll and he was on the back foot. But against Canelo, I do think he arguably won about 4 rounds. I gave him 3 at that fight as well. But to me, it seemed like it took Canelo a longer time to figure him out. He eventually got the stoppage, but people are missing the fact that In this fight, Kenny Bayless literally handicapped David Benavidez. He was not only fighting Plant, but the referee. Like, I agree with De La Hoya's assessment. So I do think styles make fights. So Benavidez will have obviously maybe more success with Canelo in terms of trying to land punches on him early on. But I don't know about Benavidez beating guys like Bivol and even Beterbiev. Maybe Beterbiev if he slows down because he is 40, but his footwork and his swinging is not going to help him against a guy with fleet foot who could actually box very well for 12 rounds. But against Canelo is an interesting fight. But I do think, take the stoppage away. Obviously, we can't do that. We give Canelo the credit because he actually got the stoppage. Up until then, I do think Benavidez was doing a better job. Like, it was one-way traffic after round, I think it was 5. I had planned up 3-2, but then I thought it was all Benavidez up until the last round.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I thought you were going to say Canelo's performance was more impressive. I know you're a big Canelo fan, so
he's ashamed for reading from Checkmate Box's playbook. You know what I mean? He's ashamed of that. But yeah,
I hate to admit it. That was hilarious.
Listen, I can take it, brother. All I do is speak logic and facts. But you got this.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Joe will say yes, but
about
you'll say
70%.
yes. Joe will say yes. I'll ask him. He's yes, but no, I speak logic, brother. But listen, the disrespect for Benavidez, I just don't understand it, and it's only geared based on Canelo, and I just don't get it. Now all of a sudden he doesn't beat Bill. See, I won thousands of dollars picking Bivol to beat Canelo, okay? And I knew he was going to beat Canelo, okay? Just like I lost a couple of hundred picking Plant to beat Canelo. But either way, you guys disrespect Benavidez. I don't get it. He's been a very consistent fighter, and yesterday he showed you new, like Joe said, new wrinkles. He showed you that he can, you know what I mean, he can adapt to a new style based on the fighter. So now you got more to worry about. You know what? You know how I take that change to show the difference. Remember when Floyd Mayweather fought Cotto? Nobody expected Floyd to go toe-to-toe with Cotto and beat him at his own game, and he did it.
Cotto forced him to do it.
But Floyd beat that ass, though. You got to put it.
Floyd adapted to it, though. Floyd adapted to it, man, like he always does.
He beat him, and the same thing with Canelo. Nobody expected little tiny Floyd to come in and go toe-to-toe with Canelo, and he wiped him off the mat. Okay,
I wouldn't say toe-to-toe, but I get what you're saying.
He was slick. He was standing in front of him. He wasn't.
I get what you're saying. But the only reason I brought up Bivol because I think Benavidez should just stay at super middleweight and get the big fights there because I'm not sure all these guys at super middleweight beat Benavidez. I'd like to see Canelo fight him and Charlo and Andrade try and get that fight because I do think Benavidez has obviously way more advantages at super middleweight. At light heavyweight, the power, whatever, the size is not going to be there. That's why I think Bivol will beat him. But I agree, like with this planned fight, I don't know why so many people were just like literally hating on the guy. Like it seemed like
it's jealousy.
But it seemed like Benavidez was fighting Canelo when he was actually fighting Plant. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
it's jealousy. You know why it's jealousy? Because everybody's been excited about this fight. Everybody's been waiting, but except for Canelo fans. Oh, he's fighting Ryder. Oh, it's going to be a sellout. Canelo's still a king. So this is all this is all flack based on the Ryder fight. Now they're jumping. The same people who said they weren't even going to watch this plan. Oh, I'm going to say one word. Liza 27. She will pom. She blocked me, but she will pom for Canelo, and you know what I mean. She said she wasn't going to watch the fight, and she ended up watching because she was commenting on it. So my point is, the same people who said that they didn't want to see this fight are the same people who are hating on Benavidez after the fight. Like you said, it's like they're fighting with Canelo. You know what I mean? So guess what? You know how you end that? Make Canelo get in the ring with him and fight. Prove he's the best.
I agree. Look, I agree. Look, I do think Canelo will be rightly favored, but I don't think it's like one way or whatever the way they're seeing it, one-sided as they're making it out. But I'm just thinking, if Plant won, Canelo, where does he go? Like, I don't think many people want to see a rematch. It was more to do with Canelo's win. They want to do big up his win. So Benavidez is one. I think Canelo has to fight him unless he wants to run it back with people. I don't think many people want to see that, because I thought that was a one-sided fight.
Well, I have to say, that sounds like a robot dying. But I don't know who you're talking about, Checkmate, but okay. But yeah, I look at it like this. I wanted to see the fight Benavidez and Plant because it was a good fight to me, styles wise. But like, I don't. How long do you guys think he can make 168 for? How much longer?
Probably 2 or 3 more fights.
I can't remember.
You got some audio issues, Hamid, man. You got some audio issues, Hamid. I'm gonna
What
put
about
you off so you can talk. Let me hear.
Listen, didn't Rocky Fielding beat Ryder?
I think Cam Smith did, but he got a disputed decision.
It was a couple of people. I think it was a couple of people that like pretty much trash that beat Ryder. Ryder has 5 losses. This is the reason why I'm against this fight, because it's not. It's like almost like a Yildirim.
I thought Jacobs beat Ryder too. I thought Ryder.
Jacobs was robbed. He got their hometown UK cooking. He was definitely 100% robbed. But you know what I mean. He didn't do it. You know, he was robbed, but it was you know what I mean. So my thing is, nobody wants to see this fight but Canelo fans. We want Canelo to prove that he's the best. You know, we want to see him on some King of the Hill shit take on all the comers. But you can't keep doing this dog and pony show with the Eurobum tour. It's just even if you're a fan, how can you accept it? You think I'm gonna accept Tank not fighting Devin and fighting Loma? I wanted Tank to fight Loma, you know, and Devin. I want him to fight them now. But either way, I'm not going to accept that for Tank. So why am I going to accept that from Canelo? And Canelo fans, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should want your man to be the best.
Checkmate. You know those bums you talk about from Europe? Didn't he just lose to one of the Euro bums?
He's not a Euro bum though.
Oh no! But you just said we can't keep accepting all these Euro bums.
Okay, let me call
the Euro bum.
Rocky Fielding, Yildirim, Callum Smith.
I'm glad you could rattle off all the names. Now, do me a favor. Rattle off all the Latino fighters that fight at 160, you know, and all the black fighters that fight at 168 pounds. Go ahead.
Okay, but the point is, all of these guys are from UK. All of them on Eddie Hearn's.
Right. And all of them are champions, right? All of them are champions, right?
Okay, but we're talking. Okay, was Yildirim a champion? Did he have to fight Rocky Fielding? You know, did he have to? So my point is,
hold on a second. You're a Charlo fan, right? Are you a Charlo fan?
Yeah, but let me land this, please. But
go ahead.
I picked Bivol to beat Canelo. So therefore, because I think I've always said Bivol was the best fighter at 175. So if I picked Bivol to beat Canelo, I certainly wouldn't think he's a Eurobum.
But he is European. But listen to me.
But he's not a Eurobum.
Are you a Charlo fan?
We got America bums too.
Are you a Charlo fan? Yes or no?
Yeah, I like Charlo. Absolutely.
Okay. When you go and look at his record, look at all the Euro fighters, look at all the Euro bums he's fought. He fights what's out there. The only difference is Canelo's fighting champions, and he fought a champion who was European at 175. So I don't know what you're talking about. What are these Euro bums you talking about? Because most of the people he fought had belts. So you know, who are these bums that he's fighting?
Okay, Mr. Graham. Again, when it comes to Charlo, all of those.
No. I'm sorry. No, I mean Canelo. Most of the people
I know, but you asked me about Charlo. Yeah. You asked me about Charlo, and you was like, okay, you know, he fought this. Look at his resume. Why didn't he fight these guys? So again, GGG denied. He turned down the opportunity. Canelo turned down $50 million.
50 million? No, he didn't. That's the first time I ever heard that nonsense.
Oh, so you didn't know?
I gotta
Canelo?
go. You guys have to be dead.
All right, buddy. You didn't know Canelo turned down $50 million to fight Charlo?
No. Where the hell are they gonna get $50 million from?
No,
Hold on. Where's the PBC going to get 50 million from the fight to pay him when they couldn't find any money to make the Crawford Spence fight? Make that work for me. Make that work for me now.
The first of all, people that has nothing to do with this. Okay, we're talking about Canelo. We're talking about the fact that Canelo turned down 50 million.
I've never heard that. You're the first person ever I've ever heard say that.
I can post a video so Habib.
Yes, please do, please, because yeah, it sounds like you're selling wolf tickets to me.
Okay, let me get the video real quick, and I'll put it in the back channel, and B can play it. Be right back.
Please, wolf tickets, baby. Always with the 50 million with the PBC. Always with 50 million. That must be their favorite friggin' number.
I think Kenny Bayless should pay off my bets that I lost last night because of that officiating job. By not allowing David Benavidez to fight on the inside. That's just my opinion. You guys still there?
I am.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm getting the video. I'm getting the video for.
And I want to hear him out his own mouth saying, "I'm turning down $50 million."
Who's that? Joshua?
Canelo. I want to hear him say, "I'm turning down $50 million."
Canelo did turn down that PBC deal that included Charlo, Benavidez, and Spence. That is on record. He did.
That I know about. But there was a reason why he turned it down, because they always want him to fight. They always want him to sign on to them to fight. And he's like, "No, I'm a free agent. Why the hell am I going to sign on you?" And So that was why he turned it down. It had nothing to do with the money. No, because he still got paid to do. Then he signed with somebody else and got paid the 3-fight deal or whatever else, right?
I mean, you can argue that the Bivol fight was a good fight, but other than that the zone deal that Canelo signed, I never wanted to see that GGG rematch.
Now, nobody wants to see, but at the same time, to say that he's ducking Charlo, who has done nothing.
Yeah, I don't.
Nothing.
Again, I
cannot stand that argument.
I don't hate the Charlo fight, but again, I never put Charlo in the same league as David Benavidez. I just never did.
I don't put Charlo in the same league as hell. Name me a current fighter that's actually actively fighting. I don't put him in the same league as Ryan right now because he's fighting. When's the last time this dude fought? When is the last time he fought?
Yeah, he's been off for a while. Yeah, he's been off for a while.
Okay, B, did you get the you see the video?
Where is it, in the private chat?
And if you're talking about the 4-fight deal he had, I know what's up with why he turned that down. Okay. I know why he turned that down, man.
Okay, you said that he did not. You said I was selling.
You said he turned down a. No, listen to what you said. Listen to what you said. You said he turned down a 50 million to fight Charlo. That's what you said. Correct. You didn't say nothing about
Charlo
package deal.
And Benavidez next. What's
wrong? No. You said Charlo. I already knew about the package deal. The only reason why he turned that down is because they wanted him to sign onto the PBC to actually get the fight, and he was like, "Hell no, I'm not doing that." Why was he need to sign on to them to get the fight? So he said, "Kiss my ass," and left.
Okay. Well, B was
that's why he turned it down. If you don't have to play it, you don't have to play it.
No, I would like to play this because people are saying that Charlo don't want to smoke with any of these fighters. Okay, so
he doesn't. He does.
Can everyone see this video? Can everyone see this video?
Can you make it full screen?
There was so much smoke.
Click on the full screen thing. Yeah.
Got it?
No, Canelo basically said no, like 50 million, from my understanding.
Canelo turned the opportunity down. I mean, I was at 154. Canelo was at 154. I had a belt. He had a belt. He didn't fight me. I moved up to 60 when he was at 60. He moved up. What I got to do? Keep chasing him with my legacy? It is what it is. I'm going to just keep winning. He turned down $50 million. I mean.
Jaime Munguia. Hey, what happened with Munguia, and why haven't you pushed harder for the Triple G fight?
Nothing really happened with Munguia. I just never got a chance to deliver that contract. Munguia went with his guys. Triple G, on the other hand, he was been at 60. He was the monster at 60. And I beat Golovkin. Then with Canelo trying to fight me.
Where the fuck is GGG? If I can't get Canelo, at least I can get GGG, right?
Andre tried to petition the WBC to make you fight him. Back in November, Andre petitioned the WBC to make him your mandatory. Did your side to attempt to accept that petition?
We accepted it. What happened to Andre? What happened to Demetrius Andre?
What happened is
Drew
that
has
he
no pride.
made a bad decision. He didn't duck nobody. I mean, come on, boy. You ain't fight nobody.
I don't really pick my fights. I'm not really like into that. You tell me who I'm fighting, I'm gonna fight him. I'm getting overlooked right now. It's not me, y'all.
Fight said, like Charlo must come to the zone in order for any of those big middleweight fights to happen.
Yeah, he must, because the zone had the entire roster of middleweight world champions. So people like Charlo, you no fights for you.
It's not me, y'all.
If you want to be a world middleweight champion, you better join the zone ASAP. And you want to fight the champions who are on the zone. I don't mean to be arrogant and say you've got to join with the zone, otherwise you're going to be frozen out. But obviously.
Wow, that was revealing right there, huh?
No, it wasn't. It's the same garbage you hear all the time. Ain't nobody running from that boy. And here's the proof in the pudding.
Wait.
Here's the proof. No. Let me finish because I'm quick.
Can I summarize the video, please, sir? But let me summarize the video
because I've heard all this nonsense before. I've heard it all before.
If the video played, please allow me to summarize it, sir, and then you can answer anything you would like. Okay. Now, in that video, it showed that GGG declined a Charlo offer. It showed that Jaime Munguia declined the Charlo offer. It showed that Andre declined the Charlo offer. It showed that Canelo declined a 50 million Charlo offer. It showed that Eddie Hearn said, guess what?
No. So go ahead.
Can I finish my statement, please, sir? Okay, it showed that Eddie Hearn said, we're going to freeze you out. There's no fights for you, Charlo. You're not going to get a big fight unless you come over to the zone. And what happened? Every single one of those fighters were with the zone. And true to Eddie Hearn's word, Charlo didn't get any of them. Okay, so you can have your opinion, but all I did was state the facts and I showed the facts. So whatever your opinion is, make sure it's an educated opinion based on the facts presented, not just what you think or not just propaganda talking points that you hear. So address again what Eddie Hearn said and address the fact that these fighters have avoided had declined Charlo fights. Go ahead.
Okay, a lot of that stuff is you leaving out a lot of information. You're just giving information that fits your narrative, obviously. Because if you were being very honest, what happened to the contract that Oscar sent to Charlo and he said, "Oh, I never saw it," but his own brother said that there was a contract. Okay, good. Nobody is ducking this cat, especially not Canelo. He just got tired of waiting for him at 160. He bounced up to 168 to actually make history, to become the first man to be undisputed at 168. Right now, when it comes to this boy here, Andres came out his own mouth and said he made a bad decision because he was given some wrong information, and that's why he didn't go about with the Charlo fight. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he said he was told one thing and it was another thing, and that's why that fight didn't pop off. So that's on Andres right there, right? That's on him. GG, I don't know too much about what happened in that fight, but ain't nobody ducking that cat, because if he was getting ducked at 160, why didn't he just move up to 168 where Plan is? That's a PBC fighter. Where Benavidez is a Swanson fighter. I think it's Swanson, but they work with the PBC, so he wouldn't have nothing to complain about. No one is ducking this cat. Nobody at all, because there's no reason to duck him, because he hasn't fought anybody and hasn't made any statements in boxing for anybody to duck him. And those are just facts. I don't care what your video said, because it's circumstantial and it leaves out a lot of information. It simply suits your narrative, but it leaves out a hell of a lot of information, though. I tell you that much.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You hear from Charlo's own mouth that he's asked for these fights. You hear even Brian Custer said, hey, confirming these fights. What happened? Andre asked to do this. He said, yeah, but we accepted. What happened to Andre? Okay, it never materialized, right? So Munguia's fight was supposed to be agreed to. What happened at the last second?
That again was Oscar. Oscar came out and said that he messed that fight up himself. Oscar De La Hoya said he came out and messed that fight up himself.
Can I finish my statement though, and then you can rebut? No problem. You saying Oscar messed it up? Yeah. So the fight was agreed to, right? But what happened? The Zone said if it wasn't going to be a joint program, then they didn't want to do it. So is that Jamal Charlo's fault? No. If you looked at the video, it had the releases of this particular fighter. It had actually the tweets of Michael Benson and I think Dan Raphael, showing that these particular fighters declined the offers, showing that GGG declined the offer, showing that Munguia declined the offer. So you're giving me your opinion, my brother. You're acting like you're in a boardroom with the circumstance, and then this is
you're acting like you're in the boardroom, not me.
Because all I'm doing is giving the facts, sir. So then
you're giving circumstantial facts. You're not giving information.
How can I give circumstantial fact when I just showed?
Because there's a lot more information that goes. Everything you played was one-sided and chopped up. That's why. It was circumstantial.
So did you read what was on it? Did you read the tweets where it says these persons declined the offers?
Listen.
Okay, let me finish my statement, sir. So then you said, you go with the favorite propaganda talking point. Oh, his brother said this. Jamel Charlo did.
His brother did say that.
Would you like to make $100? Would you like to make $100 cash?
He said, "You have me confused with the other brother. I'm not turning down no fights." That's what he said out his own mouth. Thank you.
Did he say Jamal Charlo turned down Canelo? Yes or no?
He said, "You have me confused with the other brother. I'm not turning down no fights."
He didn't. He said He said, "I'm clarifying. I'm the 154 champ." So listen, if you want to make $100 cash app bet, show you he never ever said Jamal turned down the Canelo.
Okay, let me say this to you. Let me say, okay, everything you're saying is factual, right? Why the hell then would you stay at 160 and complain and whine when you can move up to 168? Plant is on your side of the street. You could afford him. Why not move up and do what's best for your career? Plant is on your side of the street. Benavidez fights for your side of the. You and his people do good business. So why don't you move up instead of sitting there complaining and boost your career? I would take all this nonsense that you posted if he actually did something with his career. He didn't do anything. He had options. He just had to move up to 168 and said, okay, well, since I can't get a fight at 160, I moved to 168 because I know I can fight Plant. He's with the PBC. I know I can fight this one. He's with the PBC. And of course, there's David Benavidez, and fight that. Why sit there and complain instead of doing something? Why? Tell me that much.
Sure. So basically, you're saying if a fighter is being frozen out, he should just run. He should just run and go to another division because he's not. Well, you asked me the statement, my brother. Okay. Listen, you think he's supposed to run? He's only had 7 fights. Well, six, 7 fights at 160. Okay, is that a career? No, he has 32 fights. So if he has 32 fights and he had over 25 fights at 160, at 154, excuse me, this is his new division. He said himself his goal is to get undisputed at 160. So eventually those belts are going to come, because guess what? Just because Canelo only fought 2 fighters at 150, 160 before running away, when you are a fighter who fights only 2 fights at a hot division, you're a coward, you're running, you're ducking. Okay, Jamal has never ducked anybody.
And no one has ever ducked him.
Okay, man, are you listening, brother? Did you just see? So you will take your opinion based on the facts that Jamal just said.
I'm basing it on his career. What has he done that anybody would want to duck him? What has he done that anybody would want to duck him?
Well, okay, listen. So then they said, okay, well, we're gonna feed him to Derevyanchenko. He mocked Derevyanchenko, and Derevyanchenko actually beat Derevyanchenko beating GGG. So I don't. You listen.
You're basing his whole career on one fight with a guy that's a nobody.
Listen, so you keep saying it's a nobody, but everybody wanted him to fight him. See, make up your mind. Make up your mind.
No. Listen to the common sense I'm telling you. Listen to the common sense I'm telling you. Because you listen.
You cut me off.
Listen to the common sense I'm telling you. I'm sorry.
You're not allowing me.
What you're saying is
you have to allow me to land my plane.
What you're saying is that he should sit there and complain and not do anything instead of moving up and wait and actually fighting. That's what you're saying. You should sit there and he should complain and cry and not do nothing, which he did, instead of just moving up to 8 pounds and getting the fights that he know he could get. And this way he could say, okay, Now I'm here. Let's see what happens now. Okay, so basically you're saying if a fighter can't get fights, he should sit there and pout and do nothing instead of finding other ways to move his career along. Is that what you're saying?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm afraid to answer because every time I talk for 10 seconds, you stump over me. Okay, I don't even know how we can have a cordial conversation. So at this moment, I'm not even motivated to answer because every time I try to answer, you step over me. So what I will say, and I'm going to checkmate you with this, Abib, can you play the video? Because again, I'm going to kill this talking point of Jamel telling everybody that his brother said that he declined it. Because we're going to did this right now. I'm going to checkmate you, and you will never be able to use this ever again.
All right. Give me a second. You want me to play it again? I'll play it again. Give me one second.
No, this is a new one. I posted a new one for you.
Oh, you got a new one in there? Where is it? Okay, is this one right here? Let me see.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, he just posted it, I think.
Oh, I got you. Here we go. Here we go. 1 second.
People keep asking what Chamorro if people are running from him, if they're scared to fight him, how are you gonna blame the man that people are ducking? But yet you guys will elevate Inoue, who's fought nobody. Donaire was the biggest. The old Donaire was the biggest person on his resume, but you guys make him pound for pound. Get out of here, man. It doesn't work like that.
All right, give me 1 second here. Share screen. Okay, share this. All right, so I got to make this big.
Is he gonna get his shot? What's the status on that? Charlo is a WBC interim champion and mandatory.
I'm 154. I ain't the one. I would never turn down no motherfucking Canelo. Y'all know what it is. I ain't never turning my money down.
No, I am not afraid of no Canelo, no Triple G. I'm 154 pounder. Y'all got it all fucked up. Wrong twin. Wrong. And he ain't scared either. Just wrong twin, period.
Missed the video. I had to go urinate, so I'm sorry.
Can you start it over, Joe?
Canelo never gave me no country.
If Charlo's there with the mandatory position, what's gonna happen as far as with Charlo? Is he gonna get his shot? What's the status on that? Charlo is a WBC interim champion and mandatory.
I'm 154. I ain't the one. I would never turn down no motherfucking Canelo. Y'all know what it is. I ain't never turning my money down.
No, I am not afraid of no Canelo, no Triple G. I'm 154 pounder. Y'all got it all fucked up. Wrong twin. Wrong. And he ain't scared either. Just wrong twin, period.
Listen to me. Look at me. Look at me right quick. Canelo never gave me no contract.
You ain't gonna promise. I'm here to fight whoever out there that's considered themselves the best. Yeah, I'm this 160 champ. They gave him a trophy at 160, so we can move up to 68. It's like I gotta chase Canelo all my career.
I go to 168. Fuck it, I go to 168. I gotta get the fight.
I think Canelo and Charlo will be a terrific fight.
Where you at, Cinnamon?
No, Canelo basically said no, like 50 million from my understanding.
Canelo turned the opportunity down. I mean, I was at 154. Canelo was at 154. I had a belt. He had a belt. He didn't fight me. I moved up to 60 when he was at 60. What I gotta do? Keep chasing him with my legacy? It is what it is. I'm gonna just keep winning. He turned down $50 million. I mean,
suck this. Give me this, motherfucker. Get in the ring. We sign the contract, bitch. When you in this business, your whole purpose is to crush the world to your feet, man. Motherfucker out there think he could beat you. Get the fuck out of here. Real talk. That's from a fighting top pedigree perspective.
Facts. Look at me right quick. Never got a contract from none of them. I ain't never ducked Canelo. I never do no shit like that. Why would I duck a fight with Canelo? Y'all stupid as fuck.
Okay. So you could never ever use Jamel Charlo as saying that he said his brother ducked Canelo. Checkmate.
Here's the thing, though. Once again, all those things could be true, but we're not hearing any response from the other side to those claims. That's the thing. So we're getting one side of the story in defense of what Troy is saying. That doesn't mean that one side is wrong, one side is right. But, Canelo and Canelo's side, Eddie Hearn will tell you differently, because they'll tell you that we did offer Charlo a contract, and Charlo will deny it. So you have to make a decision who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth, right? This is the dilemma we have in the sport of boxing. Now, what happens sometimes is if somebody is on one side of the fence, they're going to look for confirmation bias on one side, and the other side is going to look for confirmation bias on their side. So we are getting two sides of the story, like we always do in the sport. Eddie Hearn is saying that we sent Charlo over a contract and he turned it down, and other people are on the Charlo side are saying that that's not true. So, one thing I will say, and I'll say this, and I don't know who you want to blame on this. At 154, Andre never got a fight with Canelo. At 160, Andre never got a fight with Canelo. And in both of those weight classes, Andre was the WBO champion. And for whatever reason, Canelo did not fight him, and he moved up. And the reason Canelo used was he's a horrible fighter. Now, the problem we have with that statement and that argument is, with all due respect, is Andre worse or less talented than Yildirim, Rocky Fielding, or, with all due respect, John Ryder? Because John Ryder did lose to Rocky Fielding, who was beat thoroughly by Canelo Alvarez, right? So this is the problem with the Canelo supporters sometimes, because Canelo and his fans will say this guy's not worthy of a shot, but then there'll be other fights that Canelo will fight who, in my opinion and many people's opinion, are not as good as Andre. So if Andre is a horrible fighter and you're fighting guys who most people believe, and I think it's fair to assume and say, and you would have a strong argument, that are not as good as Andre, then why are you fighting those guys, right? John Ryder is a good fighter. He's a solid fighter. I do believe he beat Callum Smith, but I don't believe he beat Daniel Jacobs. And we can't erase the fact that he did lose to Rocky Fielding, right? So is John Ryder better than David Benavidez? Is he better than Jamal Charlo? I don't think.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is this cherry picking?
Let me finish, Hamid, please.
All right, sorry about that.
So that's the thing. So if Jamal and Andre are so bad and they haven't fought anybody, then you turn around and fight guys who are still in the same boat and probably even lesser than in a lot of people's opinion. Then you open the door for criticism if you're not a Canelo fan. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, my issue with Canelo and his matchmaking is he'll fight some very good fighters, but then he'll have these 2 or 3 guys that he should not be fighting. This goes back to guys like Julio Cesar Chavez, the Khan fight as well. Some of these fights we did not want to see, and fights against John Ryder, Yildirim, I don't think many people are clamoring to see those fights. And you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't see the guys like Yildirim and I don't know who else was a mandatory challenger when he also I believe threw the belt, or was Golovkin not his WBC mandatory challenger, and he did not take that fight in 20.
WBC stripped Canelo when he was asked to fight Triple G. And then here's another argument I could make. Did he age Triple G out by waiting the 2 years and then fighting him? Again, anyone can dispute these things, but I'm going to have to concede one point. As you know, Canelo has fought good fighters, but in between fighting those good fighters, there has been some creative matchmaking, in my opinion.
Selective.
I'm just going to say.
Can I just it's selective matchmaking? Because one thing people forget, before the Bivol fight, there was a heavy talk of him going up to fight Makabu. I remember he was trying to fight that guy. That fight,
cruiserweight.
Yeah, he was a cruiserweight, but he clearly was trying to cherry pick one of the weakest belt holders. I think the Bivol fight was a better fight, obviously.
Who's actually a top guy cruiserweight with outstanding talent right now? Do you know?
But at that time, Bradis was the champion, and he was not talking about fighting guys like Bradis. And then I think I liked heavyweight as Bivol and Benavidez.
No, but you didn't answer the question. Who's the top guy at the cruiserweight that with all this outstanding talent?
It was Bradis. I said that Bradis lost to
Bradis?
Apataya. Yeah, he was the champ. He was the I believe.
And where's Bradis today?
He won the World Boxing Super Series, but he lost it.
Bradis moved up to heavy. Didn't Bradis move up to heavyweight?
Yeah.
No, he lost to Apataya. He lost to Apataya.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. Okay, who was the guy? Who was the guy that moved up to heavy? Who moved up to heavyweight? Was the other guy that
it was Gassiev, but Bradis
Gassiev. I'm sorry. I got them mixed up.
Bradis didn't move up. Bradis had a couple of fights there, but he was more or less campaigning at cruiserweight. My point is, Canelo and his team, it seemed like we're trying to selectively handpick some of these guys. I give him credit for the Bivol fight, and I will give him credit if he fights David Benavidez or Beterbiev, but I don't hold the Beterbiev fight against him because I don't think it's a natural light heavyweight. But if you're going to fight guys like John Ryder, then you're going to fight guys like Yildirim, Callum Smith. Callum Smith, to my knowledge, had one belt. I do believe the WBC was vacant and they put it on the line. So when people are trying to give all these belts too much credence, Benavidez did hold that belt. I know it's because of his own doing. He lost it, but until this fight happens, I don't believe he's cleaned out the division. He may be holding.
He needs to fight Benavidez at 168. Or there's always going to be the question mark. That's just my opinion. I'm just going to say that.
Let me step in here and say
after
something,
he
please.
won all the belts, so you gotta fight the next best guy there. Then
I believe so.
Yeah. Let me step in here and say something. I always find it so ridiculous when people say that this 168-pound fighter who wanted to fight a cruiserweight who's gonna outweigh him by 30 pounds is cherry picking. No matter how you look at it, he's fighting a bigger man with a bigger punch. So I don't know how he's cherry picking. How he's cherry picking anybody when he's going to be he has no advantages against this guy. He's big. The guy's bigger. The guy punches harder because he's known for his punching power in both hands. So I don't know how he was cherry picking. He's a smaller man. So that's
can
we argue? No. Let me finish. Let me finish. And then this whole Charlo thing, people ducking him when no one could tell me why anybody would duck him. What has he done to make him so feared that people would duck him? What has he done?
You're not making any sense.
Nobody fights anybody till they fight somebody.
Right. So who's the somebody that he's fought somebody's plural that make him so feared?
Well, he was the number one fighter at 154, and he's the number one fighter now at 160. Nobody. So
really, you can't be the number one fighter at 160 if you haven't fought in 2 years.
Well, guess what? And guess what? Nobody's fighting. Why?
I'm asking you why. Why is nobody fighting him?
Well, because they turned down the contracts.
Why?
Why? You ask. Don't ask me.
Well, Troy, here's my argument.
You're the one that.
Troy, here's my argument.
Why did those fighters turn down the contract?
1 second, checkmate. Hold up for 1 second, checkmate. I apologize. I don't want to cut you off, but this is a very poignant point that I'm going to reiterate. If Charlo and Andre don't deserve the fight, then why does Yildirim, right? Why does John Ryder, right? Why do these other guys? Why did Triple G deserve a third fight at 168 when he never even campaigned? The answer is money. The answer is money, but not merit, or it's disputable merit. So you can criticize Charlo and you can criticize Andre, but then you have to take a look at the guys he is fighting and ask yourself, are they any better in terms of merit than Andre and Charlo are?
And that is the boxing part. That's the part of the boxing business. Ryder has a country behind him, so he's gonna make more money fighting Ryder than he would fighting Charlo and Andres, who've done nothing They
You're
made a
not
couple of
making
them,
any sense.
you
But
know.
neither of these
but-
other guys,
You're
though.
not making
None
any
of these
what I'm
other
saying,
guys.
you
You're not
can't
making
tell
any
me why
sense.
Charlo's feared. So why are you still speaking? You can't tell me why he's feared.
Why? Well, if he wasn't feared, when they fight him, he got a belt, doesn't he?
No, you cannot. You
Is he a
cannot.
champion?
You
He's
don't
been-
even. You can't
he's
even
a
say anything
champion,
to back
sir.
up your own opinion. You don't know
I
why.
gave you all my. Well,
No,
you're asking me
feared.
to get in the,
Why
you're
is he
asking me
so
to get
feared?
in the
Tell me.
head of a fighter and ask why they declined this. Why did GGG say no to?
Again.
Why did why?
Again,
Why?
I'm going to go
He's
back
a
to the facts that
champion,
you're only
sir.
giving one side of the story. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
Because you
he's
can't
a
even tell me
undefeated
why the man is so feared. Why is he
He's
so feared?
32-0 with 22
Why
KOs.
is he so
He's an
feared?
undefeated champion, 2-division champion that
Why
nobody
is he
wants to
so?
fight him. Maybe
Why
because they
is
don't
he
want to
so
lose.
feared?
They don't want to lose. That's why. They don't want to lose.
One thing
Okay.
is this. One
Okay.
thing
Let me
is
say
this.
this real quick, Abi, please.
Right.
It was Charlo that said that he's not fighting Andres because he had something with his. Something happened. He came out his own mouth and said, "I'm not fighting Andres because I feel insulted or whatever happened to you." And nobody, he didn't duck him. He came out his own mouth and said he ain't gonna fight the man.
Dude,
That is a
please
fact.
stop giving half the story.
Okay.
So here's
wait,
the
let me
problem.
clear this. I hate when people.
Let me just jump in. Let me just jump in with this
Okay.
one thing. Whenever you hear this argument, well, what has this guy done? What has this guy done?
What has he
this
done?
guy done? Okay, so why can't you apply that same argument to the current crop of guys that he is fighting? Ryder has a disputed decision over Danny Jacobs,
Yes, he
but
does.
he's lost every other time he stepped up. Why is he the mandatory? Why was Yildirim the mandatory? Why did he fight Rocky Fielding? Why did he fight Golovkin in a third fight at 168 that
Nobody
no one wanted,
wanted it.
that nobody thought thought Golovkin could win? He's not even a 168 pounder, but he moves up and he gets a shot at Canelo instead of Benavidez. Why?
And you
Again,
asked him why he's the mandatory.
So what did
Okay.
those guys do to justify the fight with Canelo?
And
Why can't
and
we
as-
apply that same logic
And
to
as you
those guys
stated
that we apply to
before,
these guys?
as you stated before, very simple terms, money. The dude has a country behind him. I don't know the other dude. Who's the other dude you said he's going to fight?
What
that
do you
he said
mean a
is-
country behind him?
John
Nobody
Ryder.
cares
Who's the
about
other dude?
Ryder.
John Ryder.
Who's behind Ryder? Nobody cares about Ryder.
John Ryder is
Country
John Ryder
behind
is not. John Ryder is not a superstar in the UK. That's
No, he's not a
anybody- would
superstar, but
anybody-
where's the
would
fight going to
anybody
be?
rather
Habib? Hold on a
see-
second, yeah. Where's the fight going to be? Is it going to be over here or in the
Mexico.
UK?
In Mexico.
In Mexico, see, boom.
Wait.
Boom.
I thought the question
Okay,
was
there you
he's
go.
got a
Country
country
behind him.
So
One
can I
second.
ask you a
There you
question,
go.
Troy? Troy,
Yes.
can I ask you an honest question?
Yes.
You don't think that a fight with Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez in Vegas would gross more money than a
We're not
fight
talking
with...
about Benavidez, man. We're talking about Charlo. I already
Okay,
said.
so you don't think?
I already
So you
said-
don't
I
think?
So you
already
don't
said
think?
that you
So you don't
no.
think the
don't think-
numbers? Wait a minute. You don't think the numbers between Canelo and Charlo would be comparable to the numbers between Canelo and Ryder? Think about
I'm going to
this
say
now.
no at this point because the boy hasn't fought in 2 years.
I'm gonna say
Two
You're
I'm
not
gonna
years.
making any sense,
2
dude.
years, man.
I disagree
Canelo
with
and
that, bro.
Plant
2
did
years.
Canelo and Plant did 800. Don't you think Charlo is going to do more than that? Nobody really cared about Plant. Nobody really knew about Plant. Everybody wants to
Plant
see
is an
Canelo.
act- Plant was an active fighter. Charlo is not.
Plant's not.
Let me
Charlo's
land
not.
my plane. Let me land my
Plant's not-
plane.
Here's the thing: when you have the Showtime pay-per-view platform behind you promoting it, right? And then you have the pay-per-views. You have the Showtime pay-per-views, you have the UK pay-per-views, right? And then you have the Mexico audience as well. And then you have the live gate in United States in a Vegas casino with Charlo. I just think that you can make more money off that fight than you can with John Ryder. That's just my opinion.
Well, I would
I
agree
think the
with you
Benavidez
if he's been
fight
fighting,
will
but
do
he
better
hasn't
on
fought in 2
pay-per-view.
years.
See,
I'm not
stop
sure.
making. Please stop
I'm
making
not
up
sure
this.
about 2 years.
Wait, Joe. Let me land this. Please let me land this, guys.
Go ahead,
You
man.
can't keep making up every time someone says something viable about Charlo. You make another excuse. Oh, now it's 2 years, and then before that, oh, what has he done? Well, why would anybody want to
You
fight
don't
him?
even know what he's done.
Well, guess what? I don't. Whether you anti-Charlo or not doesn't.
You don't
dictate
even know
the
what he's done.
guess what? He's 32-0 with 22 KOs, and he's beating everybody he steps in the ring with. And Canelo declined $50 million up front for a pay-per-view that probably would have made
And
$80
that was
million.
debunked already, man.
Checkmate.
Because the PBC
Checkmate.
wanted him
Let me
to sign a
come behind
three-fight
you.
deal and all that.
Checkmate.
That was debunked
Checkmate.
already, man. Go ahead
Checkmate.
with that.
Checkmate.
Go ahead.
Checkmate. Let me come behind you with the cavalry right now. Okay. So if this guy has done nothing and he's such an easy opponent, right? And you don't want to give him a chance to prove he can do something.
I would love if he fought Canelo. I would love it.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you gave me a choice, who would I rather see Canelo fight, Charlo or Ryder? Does anyone on this panel would rather see him fight Ryder than
I would
Charlo?
rather see him fight Charlo too, because he's gonna knock him out.
So what is the argument?
So he's gonna knock out Ryder, probably easier.
Yes, it's gonna be a knockout.
So what's the difference then?
What I'm saying is this: I'm sick of the argument that Charlo's this big monster when no one can tell me what he's done. This dude over here thinks he's a world beater, but he can't explain how he's a world beater when he's done nothing. No one is saying Ryder's a world beater. No one is saying that. I'm fine with him fighting Ryder. I'm fine with him fighting Charlo. But stop with the Charlo's a world beater. People are ducking him. He's the most spared man at 160. Nobody's afraid of him. You don't even know why he. Let me
bust in with
he's so feared because you can't back up nothing you say. I asked him.
I backed up with the video.
You said he fought 32 times. Okay, so what?
I checkmated you with the video.
So
you
what,
had
man?
No comeback. But,
so what, man? That was circumstantial BS, and you know it.
Troy, let me get.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Busting with some super chats real quick. Philly Drew, thank you for the $4.99 super chases. So we're against mandatories because you got to fight them to keep your belt. Even I question how they earn their shot. Bang Mateo says, give Charlo that same energy for Duck and Andre and Jacobs. Here's the legitimate. Troy, here's the legitimate argument you have with Charlo. Yeah, he's been off for a long time. He had the injury, whatever the case may be. But there was a time, honestly, when that Charlo fight was very viable for Canelo.
I'm middleweight, isn't it? Though I'm middleweight, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, can I just say one thing? With Canelo, the thing is, when you were saying these guys like Andrade and Charlo haven't fought anyone, he did fight guys like Yildirim and now John Ryder. Yeah, John Ryder got the Danny Jacobs fight, but that's
Rocky Fielding.
Literally.
Rocky Fielding.
Yeah, Rocky Fielding.
What do these guys do? What the fuck did these guys? Why can't we apply that same logic? And I love all fighters. I want all fighters to be millionaires. I want all fighters to be millionaires. Hell, I love them to be billionaires. But again, if we're going to use the merit system on Charlo and Andre, why can't we apply the same merit system to those guys?
Listen.
That's the argument.
I would love for those two to fight. No. I would love for Charlo and Alvarez to fight. I don't have a problem with them fighting. My issue is people keep saying he's a world beater and people are afraid of him, but no one can tell me why.
Maybe he's not, but why?
He's not a world beater, and no one has any reason to fear him. Dispel that world
argument.
Dispel that world beater myth. If you think it's a myth,
I would love for them to fight because when he fights Canelo, he's going to get knocked out.
Okay, well, let it happen. But why did he?
I don't have the power to make anything happen.
Okay, so you asked me why
Fielding's going to get knocked out. Rocky Fielding's going to get knocked. Yildirim's going to get knocked out.
Sure, I agree with you.
He should have been knocked out, but he lost 10 rounds to 2, which was a meaningless fight.
Sure, that was money.
Ryder's going to get knocked out.
That was money.
Ryder's going to get knocked out.
Sure.
He would have made more money.
So all these arguments we're using, can be
applied to the current crop.
They could all be used to the current crop of guys.
You're a hater, dude. You need to change your name from Mr. Hater. The great.
He's not a hater. No, he's not a hater. He has an opinion.
Do you remember? Hold on a beat. Do you remember the pay-per-view that him and his brother was on? You remember the pay-per-view that him and his brother was on? Did that sell?
We're not talking about that. We're talking.
Thank you very much. Let's keep it moving.
Canelo declined 50
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. They don't have an audience.
So again, Troy, if
he was his WCBC,
what pay-per-views is Yildirim? What pay-per-views is Yildirim selling?
No,
what pay-per-views is Ryder selling? What pay-per-views is Ryder selling? None of these other guys are selling pay-per-views either. So again, my argument is, let's apply the same.
No, I don't have an issue with him fighting Charlo or anybody else. It's just that I'm sick of the world beater talk with Charlo. I would love if he fought Charlo.
Who would people rather see?
I would love it.
Canelo fight.
Let Hamid get in.
Who would people rather see Canelo fight? Andrade or Charlo? Because I think,
of course, they want him to fight Charlo, and I would love for it to happen. I would love it. I
don't think both guys helped each other because Andrade could have done what John Ryder did. Andrade could have fought literally Zach Parker, beaten him, and he would have been in that slot. he would have been in that slot to fight Canelo. I don't know if Canelo would have fought him, because I agree with Beeb. There's a lot of double standards, and Canelo, he had no problem fighting guys like Rocky Fielding, Yildirim, and now John Ryder.
Here's a problem if you're a fan, and let's be objective here.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted that Golovkin fight, right? But you know what everyone said? As long as he just gets the Golovkin fight out of the way, let him get his money. As long as he gives us something else after that, we'll be happy. With all due respect to Ryder, I like Ryder. He's a solid guy. But once again, this is another one-sided fight in Canelo's favor that is
and it's on pay-per-view.
And it's on pay-per-view, which I'm disgusted about. So once again, we're having back-to-back fights. We're having back-to-back fights that nobody wanted. When are we going to get that one? When are we going to get the big fight? When are we going to get the Benavidez fight? When are we going to get the Charlos fight? Troy, let me ask you this, brother. Be honest.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Are you at all excited about this Ryder fight at all?
I don't give a damn about that fight. I told you that. I don't give a damn about it.
Right.
I don't give a damn.
So
I don't give a damn if
again,
he fights Charlo either. But I would love if he did. Trust me, I would love it.
Okay.
I would love it. Because
Well,
then
guess what?
when he
Charlo was
flashed Charlo's ass,
mandatory, and
this
he
dude
ducked it.
checkmate won't have
Charlo
nothing to
was his
say, and all
mandatory, and
his
he franchise
other mad half of fans that think he's a world beater that can't say why he's a world beater won't have nothing else to say when he's laying on the canvas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. They gonna call a long count again. Oh, the long count. Yeah, okay, whatever. He got knocked out.
I don't think Charlo's helped himself by not having any fights. At least with Andrade, he has been fighting. Maybe the guys he's fighting are very poor, but like if you're not active, like there's the old saying, out of mind, out of sight. Like out of sight, out of mind. Like that's the problem, I think, with Charlo.
Yeah.
But I do think Canelo needs to fight Benavidez. Look, if you're gonna fight John Ryder and guys like that, then you gotta fight Benavidez as super middleweight.
All I'm saying is this, I'm sorry for sounding redundant. I'm getting sick of hearing, what did this guy do? Who did this guy fight? When it's only applied to selective fighters.
Is it just PBC hate though?
That logic, apply it to every single fighter.
Right. But that started with the PBC king. Floyd Mayweather started that jump.
Is it PBC hate though? To me, it seems like these guys have agenda because they don't like the PBC. Because this is only applied to Benavidez, Andrade.
I'm a PBC hater. But guess what? PBC is knocking it out of the park right now. I can't hate them currently.
And let me say this too. Because I would, as I stated, I would love for them to fight, but I can't take Charlo seriously when Jacobs gets in your face and he's on your side of the street. That fight never happened. Then you come out your mouth and say, I'm not fighting anybody that's in their 20s when it comes to David Benavidez.
Those are street tactics. That's not applicable.
No. But what about David Benavidez? What about David Benavidez when he said, I'm not fighting nobody in their 20s?
I use street tactics on people every day, man. But
what about when he said he's not fighting nobody in their 20s, Habib?
I roll up on people every day, man. I roll up on people every day. My bark is worse than my bite too, man. But
no.
That don't mean I'm gonna win titles.
When have you known Jacobs to turn anybody down? But let's get back to him saying he's not fighting David Benavidez because he's in his 20s or whatever have you. And he could have had that fight. He could have both fights. They're both easy to make. They're both on his side of the street. And he's such a world beater. Why didn't he take on those two?
Here's my problem. Here's my problem with the John Ryder fight. Yildirim was a stay busy fight because he fought him in February, and then he fought Billy Joe Saunders in May, and then he fought Clay Plant in October. With the John Ryder fight, is in May, and then I don't think he's fighting again until September. So he's gonna have 2 fights. It looks like that's gotta be Benavidez. If he ends up fighting Makabu or Badu Jack, I don't know if I could give him much credit.
You know what's funny? Let me just say this, bro. You guys. I hate to do this to you guys because you guys just have selective outrage. Oh well, these guys are mandatory, right? He's got to fight him to keep his belts. Okay, then why did he allow himself to get stripped by the WBC when he didn't fight Golovkin? Why did he allow himself to get stripped by the IBF when he didn't fight Derevyanchenko? So all of a sudden, belts matter now, but at 160 they didn't, and he allowed himself to get stripped when he was
when he had mandatories enforced on him back
It
then.
wasn't
He said,
GGG.
yeah,
it was
GGG.
Charlo. It was Charlo.
Derevyanchenko.
Andrade.
Charlo was the mandatory.
Andrade.
All these guys were
Andrade had the
mandatories.
belt.
All these guys are mandatories, and he allowed himself to get stripped, and he vacated, and he moved up.
Andrade had the belt. Andrade had the belt at middleweight.
And he didn't give a fuck back then. But now all of a sudden, now that he's in a division where the mandatories are easier fights, then of course he's going to honor him now. But he didn't honor him at 154. He didn't honor him at 160. So again, we have to apply the same standards across the board all the time, and we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Who's
He
we?
was He was franchise protect. He was franchise protected to what? Not have to fight mandatories. Now what is he doing? I have to fight my mandatories. Come on, brother. And the thing about it, you know what's egregious is that Canelo turned down an undisputed fight versus Andre because he said Andre was boring, that nobody wants to watch that. Think about that for a second. You can't keep protecting this man when he turns down an undisputed fight with Andre. He's not only turned down an undisputed fight with Andre, but he also turned down Andre at 154 when he was Andre's mandatory when Andre had the WBO belt. So Canelo has been doing this, and you guys act like it doesn't matter, but you want to blame the Charlos and all these other people saying they're not worthy. Well, you can side, but the facts are the facts, sir. Facts over feelings, sir.
Facts that Jacobs, he could have fought Jacobs. He didn't fight
facts
him.
Over feelings.
He could have fought David Benavidez. He didn't fight him because both of them, Jacobs was an easy fight to make. I don't hear you talking about him not fighting him. He's such a world beater. Why didn't he fight Jacobs? He could have fought David Benavidez when David Benavidez said, "Okay, I'm gonna fight you," and then he said, "Nah, I ain't fight nobody in their 20s."
Okay, so now you talk about Jacobs, and you're ignoring the fact that Canelo ducked Charlo at 54 and ducked him when he was when he franchised.
We're back on this ducking business, but you can't tell me why he's ducking, why he's being ducked. What did he do? Who did he? Listen, man. Listen.
Let me be your psychologist.
Listen, man. You know, when people were saying that they were ducking Mike Tyson, they were afraid of Mike Tyson. I didn't have to ask these questions because I saw what he was doing to make people afraid of him.
So
I have no problem with Canelo. I have no problem with the Canelo Charlo fight. Is just that people like you is what I have a problem with, because you make him a world beater, but you can't explain to someone like me why he's a world beater.
So if he's not a world beater, then just prove he's not a world beater.
You could just take off the world and call him a beater.
You call him a world beater. I didn't put any tag on
him. Listen to everything he said. Duck. All these people are ducking him. These people are ducking him. But why? Why are they ducking him? What did he do? He's not a frightening fighter.
Let me address this super chat. Philly Drew says, Yildirim was Benavidez's mandatory, but he lost the belt, and Canelo got the belt, so he became Canelo's mandatory. Okay, Derevyanchenko was Canelo's mandatory for IBF. Yes, what did he do? What did he do? Stripped. He vacated it. He said, "Strip me."
It's worse than that.
GGG was his mandatory before he fought him 2 years later. And he got stripped. Andre was his mandatory at one point, right?
No, he was Andre's mandatory at 54.
He was Andre's mandatory. He was Andre's mandatory at one point. Thank you, checkmate. He was Andre's mandatory at one point. And what did he do? He moved up. So again, the whole mandatory argument, you can use it if you want, but it wasn't applicable. It wasn't applicable back at 154 and 160. And now all of a sudden it's going to be applicable at 168 because now the mandatories are easier fights than they were at 154 and 160. That's a fact.
People use that mandatory thing.
They want to selectively use that mandatory argument when it suits them.
My problem would be with the whole WBC and the Benavidez thing was, why did they put that on the line for the Callum Smith fight? Because I don't know what Callum Smith did. I think it's because he had some diamond belt, but that just shows the WBC are corrupt. Like you can't just put these belts on the line just randomly and then expect people to give the organization credit when you're just bending the rules.
Look, Andre called Canelo a bitch. You said, "Oh, what happened when Jacobs went to Charlo?" Andre called Canelo a bitch, and Canelo still says, "I don't want to fight." Isn't that what you're supposed to do when somebody call you a bitch? Aren't you supposed to get in the ring and fight for millions of dollars because this man disrespected you?
Look, win, lose, or draw, that Andrade fight is not going to look good. It's if you beat Andrade, no one win, lose, or draw. If you beat Andrade, you're not going to look good doing it. Canelo knows that, in my opinion, and he doesn't want it. That's just my opinion.
I wanted to see the Andrade fight.
I really wanted to see the Andrade.
Yeah,
fight.
I don't really care about the Charlo fight that much because I think Charlo does not help himself. He's way too inactive, and he has not fought anyone. Benavidez has actually fought guys at Plant, and he's been more active. Where with Andrade, the guy's been chasing Canelo for 3 divisions. I think recently Andrade has also not helped himself by throwing that Zach Parker fight and just pulling out of these fights. Janibek, he ducked him. I forgot about that. But at 160 and 154, I did want to see that fight. I'm not sure why that never happened.
Can I ask you a question? Checkmate. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that Canelo is at fault for Charlo's career not moving the way it should go?
What do you? Canelo had a nice career. Charlo had a nice career. He was a long reigning champion at 54, and he's been reigning champion at he had 7 fights at 160. So Eddie Hearn on that video tell you they're going to stall Charlo out. They're going to not give him any of those unification fights. He has to come to John.
He didn't say that.
Anything. Wait,
I know what he said because I heard the video. He said. He said just like this. He said, "I'm not saying that you're not going to get that we're going to freeze you out, but basically he's saying if you don't fight our fighters, who are you going to fight?"
No, he said there's no fights for you. He said you're getting no fights for you, Jamal Charlo.
Okay, but most of the fighters that Charlo wanted to fight was with the zone. So who
all
else
of them,
fight?
all of them.
Okay,
So
why didn't he just go get him? Money talks and bullshit walks. I mean, the PBC supposed to have all this money. Why didn't they send them contracts and just make the fight?
Joe,
Stop it, man. Stop. Don't. Please don't.
This guy is ignoring the facts that are.
Please don't.
Sir, you've been.
I know what was said, and I know how to interpret things.
You're checkmated.
All I know is that listen.
You're ignoring the contract.
Here's the thing. Here's the things that can be argued and disputed.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in that video, those things were said, but we haven't heard from the other side. Hearn denies some of that stuff. I get all that. What can't be denied is this.
Just play the Hearn part of the video, please.
Don't play any of the video.
Let me finish.
Well, stop speaking for Hearn.
Let me finish, please. Please let me finish. What can't be disputed is this whole mandatory argument. Oh, well, he had to fight his mandatories. Well, he didn't have to fight his mandatories at 160 when he got stripped by the WBC and the IBF. So he had no problem following his mandatories then. That's number one. And then he was Andrade's mandatory, and he decided, I don't want to fight him. I'm going to move up to 168. So that goes out the window. This whole argument about, well, what are these guys who want to fight me? What have they done? Okay, so what are the guys that you're currently fighting now? What have they done? So again, that can't really be disputed either. So we have to factor in that this selective criticism is not applied equally across the board. We have to at least acknowledge that.
You know, at middleweight, was that on Canelo or Golden Boy? Because I remember.
What do you mean? He vacated titles.
He sued. No, I'm not defending Canelo or his team, but I'm saying he sued.
That was before
Golden
the
Boy.
Suing. That was before the suing.
All right, because I'm trying to think why he sued it. Was it because of the Derevchenko fight? Or was that something else?
Whatever the reason is, okay. He did not fight. He did not honor all his mandatories. Now, if you want to use that argument against with a fighter like Anthony Joshua, a guy who has fought every single one of his mandatories, then you can use that argument against Anthony Joshua because he has a history of fighting all of his mandatories.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
So you want to use the mandatory argument against, to support a fighter's choices and opponents? You can use that against Anthony Joshua. I don't think you can use it with Canelo because Canelo has vacated titles when there has been mandatory fights.
Oh yeah, he's handpicked him. Yeah, he's handpicked.
He's vacated titles.
Yeah,
and he's passed up mandatory titles himself when he himself was the mandatory. He's circumvented certain fights. So I don't think you could say, oh well, these guys are mandatories. Okay, but Canelo doesn't give a fuck about mandatories. He can fight anybody. He can pick and choose whoever he wants to fight. He at this point in his career, he's concerned about making money, and I don't begrudge him for that.
My problem is, why did an undisputed matter 154, 160? All of a sudden, undisputed matter. Like, I think there's some goalposts moving from Canelo or his fans. Like, when it came to super middleweight, all of a sudden, undisputed mattered. You also a fighter and a champion at middleweight and junior middleweight. Like, Terence Crawford literally cleaned out the junior welterweight division, and he was trying to do it at welterweight. But what's it called? All the other champions were at the PBC. So that's where my problem is with the mandatory and the undisputed situation. Like, I think Canelo's picked and chosen at times as well. Like,
listen,
a fighter
he has a right. He has a right to do whatever he wants. Okay, currently he has the best resume in boxing. Okay, but why not give other fighters the same chance you're giving fighters like Yildirim, right? Fighters like Rocky Fielding, fighters like Sergey Kovalev, right? Fighters like John Ryder, right? Fighters like Golovkin, who never fought at 168 before, right? And who's 40 years old. Like why are these guys getting all these opportunities? You apply the same logic to apply the same logic to the other fighters, right? Then that you apply to guys like Benavidez, guys like Andre, guys like Charlo. And if you don't want to see those fights, then you have your opinion, right? You have your opinion, but don't use this selective criticism for certain fighters and not use it for others. And I've already debunked the mandatory argument because, again, he's had mandatories ordered for him in the past, and he's been the mandatory himself. And what did he do? He's vacated 2 middleweight titles, and he's moved up a weight class because he didn't want to fight Andre when he was Andre's mandatory, supposedly. So again, it is what it is. It is what it is.
I agree.
He doesn't. He's already accomplished that he's 168 pounds. He's earned the right to call himself the man at 168. So don't use this argument that, oh well, he has to fight these guys. He doesn't have to do anything he doesn't fucking want to do. He's said that out of his own mouth. I will fight whoever I want to fight. So it's not like he's forced to fight these mandatories. He's already told you before he doesn't care about mandatories because, like I said before, not to keep repeating myself, he has vacated titles before in the past. So
I agree. Look, my thing is this: the consistency. Usyk, when he cleaned out the cruiserweight division, he literally fought Bellew, who had won the WBC title, and then he moved up. There was no backtracking statements saying that you're done with the division or you become undisputed. When Canelo beat Caleb Plant, if he drummed the belts like I knew he did, and he moved up to light heavyweight and literally was campaigning there, then I would not be arguing this. But you fought Golovkin, a 40-year-old Golovkin, and now you're fighting John Ryder. I do think he needs to get the Benavidez fight. After that, if he wants to move up and he wins, then fair enough. Like, I'm not gonna criticize the guy or hold him to different standards. But like, if you're campaigning in this weight class, and I do think you need to fight Benavidez after the Ryder fight.
When you only fight 2 fighters in a weight class and vacate your titles and get stripped, and vacate. But the most egregious thing I ever seen was him ducking. Yeah, he ducked the mandatories, but ducking Andre for undisputed 160 because he says Andre's a boring fighter is the worst thing that could happen to a fighter. And his fans act like it never happened. You sweep it under the rug. You put a cape on him like he James Brown and ushering him off stage. Like, no, we're just going to act like that never happened. Canelo is a very good fighter, but he has never proved that he's the best at any division. I just want to see it. If he beats Charlo, so be it. If he, what has he? He's never cleaned out a division.
I'm gonna be honest with you. At 154,
he lost to Floyd.
I don't think he cleaned out that division. I don't think he cleaned out 160. Now you can argue, you can make the argument he cleaned out 168, but I mean, you still have David Benavidez out there.
Okay,
You still have,
like to ask
you still have, you know, I don't want to say David Morrell's name because he hasn't had a lot of fights, but that would be a tough fight too.
Thank you
right?
so much. I'm sick of hearing his name.
That would be a tough fight too, in my opinion. But again, he hasn't. But he hasn't proven himself. Now again, you can continue to say who is Benavidez fought, blah 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 blah. And we're going to continue to use that selective prerequisite, that selected line of theory on who deserves fights. But again, if we're going to keep saying that, then say it again. Say it for everybody. Oh well, John Ryder has a better resume than David Benavidez. Yeah, but again, he's got 5 losses and he's lost to Rocky Fielding. You know what I mean? And he probably should have lost to Daniel Jacobs. Okay, I had him beating Callum Smith. I had him beating him. That's fine. But again, like what has he done that has been so spectacular to deserve this Canelo fight? Exactly. I'm just being honest.
What the Billy Joe Saunders do?
So if you want to use that same logic that you're going to use with the other fighters, then use it against every single one of Canelo's opponents. If the requirement to fight Canelo Alvarez is you have to have a stellar resume, right? Then who is Canelo going to fight? Who has a stellar resume right now, currently
at
168? Who has a stellar resume at 168 right now?
Nobody outside Canelo.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. So by default, everyone that you fight really hasn't done anything.
Going to be viewed as a cherry picker. There's no fighter on his status.
Can I just say before I go, if Canelo say he beats John Ryder, which he should, as most people and we agree he does. Say if he doesn't fight Benavidez and fight Bivol or Peturbia, would you give him criticism? Because I think at that point I wouldn't criticize him.
I just don't I can't make sense of the Bivol fight. Like, if here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. If he goes up and fights Bivol, right, and he loses again, and then we hear we got to hear the whole fucking spiel and the bullshit that he's not a true light heavyweight. So then, what the fuck are you fighting him for? What does this fucking fight with Bivol mean?
Bivol was too big, but he want to go fight Makabu.
What does this fight with Bivol really mean? You're gonna win. You're gonna beat Bivol, right? If you beat Bivol, I don't think if you beat Bivol, are you even gonna defend that fucking title? Are you even gonna unify with fucking Beterbiev?
Yeah, I can't see that.
Are you gonna vacate? So you're putting the 168-pound division on lock.
No, he's not.
On freeze frame, and then you're gonna fight fucking Bivol.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
No, he's not. Let me say this. This cat cannot win for losing. So basically, you're saying that if he goes to the 2 guys that you named, Ryder and the other guy, they're easy outs. You don't know why he's fighting them. And if he goes to 175 again and fights the guy who beat him, and he loses, why is he fighting them? So basically, if he fights the easy fighters, why is he fighting easy fighters? If he beats the guy that beat him, why is he fighting the guys that beat him? Why should he be fighting at all? I mean, with that type of mentality. And then you say he's holding up to 168 pounds. He's the undisputed champion, yes, but he's not stopping the rest of the cats from fighting each other, beating each other. This way, when he turns back around and comes back to 168 after doing whatever the hell he's doing, he can say, okay, there's one guy left for me to fight. So he's not stopping anybody from moving in their career at all. I understand that he has all the belts, but these cats can fight each other and make it be one top guy in that division, whether it be David Benavidez or whoever else is going to be. But this that he's holding up the division thing, that's nonsense. This thing that why is he fighting at 175?
It's not
because he wants to.
It's
because he wants to.
Is it really nonsense?
The fact that he might go up to 198 to fight a cruiserweight. Oh, he's cherry picking the guy that walks around at over 200 pounds.
Yeah, but is it really nonsense? Is it really nonsense if he goes up and fights Bivol again at 175? That's not holding up the division.
No, because that's the heart of the fighter.
Here's the thing.
That's the heart of a fighter.
So you fight your mandatory for the WBA, right? but you don't fight your mandatory for the WBC. How fucking convenient is that?
Every fighter, Habib, listen, every champion,
convenient
Habib,
is that?
every champion, even James Toney would tell you that you take some easy fights after you become champion because you can't be fighting A's and B's because it's gonna shorten your career. James Toney said that, and he's a legend. James Toney said that.
Okay. Let me add this caveat. Okay, since Canelo has had all the belts sold up at 168, he has fought Yildirim. He has fought old GGG, and he's about to fight Ryder. He's fought Bivol, and he's talking about fighting Bivol again. So yes, so he is not fighting the best at 168 because he wants to fight Bivol again.
Who exactly is the best at 168, sir?
Well, we will never find out. Well, Benavidez. Benavidez has been number one at 168. So that's what he needs to fight. That's who he's been ducking. He's been ducking him. So he's going to drag OGG up.
He's just a world-class ducker. Charlo, Andres,
he is a world-class
Benavidez.
Yes,
Wow.
He's going to duck path for peace resistance, sir. Understand, this is, again, his resume after Undisputed is Yildirim, Bivol, GGG, Ryder, and then Bivol again. There are no top 168s in there. So within that, there's two mandatory.
What about Plant? Are you leaving out Plant?
No, I said after. I said after he got all the belts, sir. So Yildirim was a mandatory, and now he said Ryder's supposed to be a mandatory, but nobody's fighting Benavidez. And you're going to talk about holding up a belt again to go to 175 again. He's holding up 168 for the best fight, the best. Let the belts go like you did at 168.
just like I've heard he's holding up Charlo's career. Yeah. I'm so sick of hearing that nonsense.
Yeah, he was. Charlo was his mandatory.
How was he holding up his? How was he holding? Was is the key word. How did he hold him up?
Absolutely, he ducked.
He could have went on and fought somebody else.
He got on his bike and ran.
He could have went. He could have just like Crawford. Just like Crawford bounced and fought somebody else. Charlo could have bounced and fought somebody else too. Thank you.
Canelo needs to drop the belt if you don't want to fight, and we cool with that because we know the fighters who want to fight to be champions will fight.
You know what? I wish he would drop the belts and then we'll go to David Benavidez and then. He would come back down, and if he wins again, he'd be two-time undisputed. It would be great if that happened. That'd be great for boxing. That'd be great for boxing.
Let Suleiman in. Suleiman, how's your audio, brother? You good? Oh, he's frozen, man. Oh God.
Suleiman look like
Are you good, Suleiman? Suleiman, you ready?
Yeah, Suleiman look like a leg breaker for the. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, my audio's good. My audio's good.
All right, let him.
Yeah, my audio's good. Like before you guys were talking about Plant, now you're talking about Benavidez. Benavidez, all you gotta do is hold his head, man. Push for the Canelo fight, right? If not fight contenders, that basically he could beat all the contenders, man. If he has to fight all the contenders, let him do it. Canelo right now, he's confused, man. He should stay at 168 or vacate, man. Forget about 175 for now. The division is stacked from 1 through 10, and every single division, every single title is stacked right now with talent. So also like you guys were talking about Plant. Plant, the only route that he could go is the IBO route, man. The IBO route's the only guy that maybe he might win that fight. That's the only belt he could get because the Reggie belt, bro, forget about it. That Reggie belt, that guy is gonna hold that belt. He's gonna push for a Canelo fight soon. Maybe he just go down and fight Triple G or something like that because he's still marketable. But besides that, man, what you gotta do is fight regular fighters, man. Regular fighters from that division, that the top 15, but from 11 to 15, build up his momentum again, and maybe fight for wait till a title's vacant or something like that, and win another belt. But he beat none of the top guys. He can't beat the undefeated fighters right there. We got William Skull. You guys haven't even mentioned William Skull through the whole show. You haven't mentioned Osli Iglesias. They're both Cuban. It's not only Morel. You got these other two guys there just waiting in the limelight to in the sidelines for opportunity to impress and to win a belt. These guys are Cuban. They came here. They defected to these countries and they're waiting, man. They're waiting to cash in. Then we got the wild card Andrade. He's waiting right there. Then we got this guy.
Oh no, his audio. Oh God. Audio's gone, Suleiman.
And here's another point, man. Sorry, Suleiman. You gotta try to get out and come back in, Suleiman. Leave the chat and come back in. Here's another thing. Here's another problem I have now. This guy Canelo's not only holding up 168, he's also holding up 175 now because Bivol should be unifying with freaking Better Beef. But now he's gonna wait around for freaking Canelo, man. So
no, he doesn't have to wait around for him. He doesn't have to wait around for him because he's a champion. He don't have to wait around for nobody.
Oh, we'll see, man. I mean, he's got a Canelo
got
a rematch clause. Canelo got a rematch clause.
That's my issue. Basically, but he doesn't have to do that either.
All right.
He doesn't have to do anything. He's a champion.
We'll see.
I mean, how much power does one dude have, man? Cut it out, man.
Champions don't have to do anything, right?
We'll see.
You know what you're supposed to do as a champion?
He doesn't have. He's not holding up the 175-pound division. He's really not.
The best versus the best on some King of the Hill shit. That's what the true champion is all about. That's what Jamel Charlo set the tone. I'm going to
really because he didn't fight Jacobs and he didn't fight Benavidez when he had the opportunity. So how does he? How could you say he fought the best of the best?
That's what Jamel Charlo set the standard when he collected his undisputed because he knocked out every champion, fought every champion.
Okay, because he's the real fighter.
And then
he's the real fighter in the bunch.
Absolutely, he's not fighting on the least path of least resistance.
Oh no, checkmate seems to be going out here a little bit.
Listen, Habib, right?
Go ahead,
let me say this. I have no problem with Charlo fighting this dude here, Alvarez, and none of that. It's just that this whole ducking and
they all duck.
Charlo walks on water and everybody's afraid of him. Crap. I mean, no one could actually factually tell me what this boy has done to be feared. No one is ducking him.
Why should we tell you why?
Nobody's ducking him. Thank you. And that makes a great amount of sense. Thank you a lot.
My point is, you want us to give you an opinion about why other fighters are declining Charlo contract. The fact of the matter is, he's a champion. Okay, he's the WBC champion. Okay, you're supposed to challenge the champion, and other champions are supposed to unify against the champion. But guess what? They all said no. You can't blame Charlo for the other champions ducking, running, and hiding. Plain and simple. Checkmate.
I'm gonna let Suleiman close it out because we've been burning for 3 hours here and we're going around in circles and I got to get some shit done today. Suleiman, I'm gonna let you have the last word, man. I can't. Let me unmute you. Oh shit, Suleiman. Mike's not connected. All right, call in tonight, Suleiman. All right, man. Call in tonight, man. All right. I'm gonna close it out. Let's get some last words here, man. Go ahead, checkmate.
Hey, like I said, I'm just excited that the world is, everybody except Canelo fans are giving Benavidez his just due. And I just want to see Canelo fight the best. I'm tired of this circus. I just want to see Canelo fight the best, prove that he's the best, so I can go ahead and praise him for being the best, but he has yet to prove that yet.
Yeah. Well, Troy took a break here, man.
No, I'm right here, baby. I'm right here. Let me wrap this up real quick for you.
Ahead,
I would love if Benavidez and Canelo fought next. I would love it because that's good for the sport, good for the fans. My issue is don't make someone a world beater who hasn't done a damn blasted thing. Okay, I hate that. And then you turn around and make him a victim and say that one man is holding up his whole career. So what is he? Is he a world beater or is he a victim? Make up your mind. And then when he has the opportunity to fight top fighters and he doesn't fight them, I don't see you putting up a video explaining why he didn't fight those two top fighters and why he came out of his mouth and said, I'm not fighting nobody in their 20s. Why? Because you can't. You only support narratives that support your point. Whereas me, I take it all in because I'm a boxing fan, and I will tell you, I want these fights to happen. I want them to happen. I don't care about nothing else. You can't do that. Have a good night.
All right, peace out, everybody. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you for the super chats. Checkmate, I'll catch you on the rebound, man. Thanks for coming in.
Right,
Always great hearing from you, brother. Even when we don't
Not a
disagree. I'm
problem.
glad we
It's
can
never
agree
great
on
hearing
something.
from you. Never.
That's because I checkmate you. It's hard to check. It's hard to like somebody who checkmates you. I destroy all your points.
Yo, you get a lot of hate when someone says I hate to agree with you when they preface their agreement, right?
Hey Joe, I can go against 1,000 people. It doesn't matter, brother. I stand on principle and facts, brother. My opinions is based on the facts that I present. This guy will talk about Eddie Hearn and what Eddie Hearn says, but then say, no, Joe, don't play the video. We don't want to hear Eddie Hearn say it because I'm just going to go in my own mind. This guy says Jamel Charlo said his brother said this. I played a video and Jamel Charlo didn't say that, but he still want to go ahead and use it.
He said you have me confused with your brother.
That's what I said. Stop using propaganda talking points, sir. Use facts. Yes, sir.
Checkmate. You're almost invulnerable, but you have one weakness.
What's that?
I'm your kryptonite. All right, peace out, everybody. have a great one, everybody.
What your weakness is, Checkmate.
Take it easy,
Peace out,
everybody.
Peace out.
Take it easy, everybody.